this race, but he is nearly 0.3 of a second faster than Juan Montoya. He hasn't really got very much to do except to keep his right foot planted to the floor in this Ferrari, get across the line to snatch pole position for his home Grand Prix. Yes! Just listen to the crowd.
Barrichello's home runs have been horrendous. Interlagos is a 70,000 sellout, the vast majority, including his wife Silvana, imploring their favourite to deliver at last at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Hello there, Interlagos is absolutely jumping. They queued overnight, some of the stands were packed a good 6 hours ago. Can Barrichello do it? We'll assess his chances in a moment. First, though, our report on a radical set of proposals that could transform F1 next season. All the teams, excluding Ferrari, have agreed to change tyres and testing. Qualifying will also change. Ted Kravitz reports.
F1 team bosses have had feverish meetings behind the scenes this weekend. Bad-tempered bargaining, trying to find a future way for Formula One. But two things are for certain. Firstly, next year's technical rules. Cars will look a bit different. Smaller front and rear wings will mean a 15 to 20% cut in downforce. Tyres will be more durable and therefore cut cornering speeds, and each engine must last 2 races. They currently last for just 1 event. The arguments surround 2006 and the move to 2.4-litre V8 engines. The other thing to change for 05 is qualifying. The sessions will be split over Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning. They'll run on Saturdays when we're all used to seeing qualifying on low fuel, but we won't know who is on pole and where everyone else is on the grid until 3 hours before the race. The final qualifying results are an aggregate, a combination of both times. Will that be any good? We asked the drivers.
I don't like it. I think adding the times together is, we do that on Sunday afternoon. We have an hour and a half of a Grand Prix to add the times together and the best man wins.
I don't know how much viewing there's going to be on the Saturday now. That's the only worry. Hopefully it won't change. And on Sunday morning when everyone's watching qualifying, hopefully they're going to know what's going on.
Ultimately it won't change much from this year. It just means you have twice as much track time to make a mistake. And basically the better cars will make a bigger difference because it's easier to make a mistake on a bad car.
Hopefully they can do it in such a way that the time immediately is being updated. Because if you have to sit there and explain, well, they've done a 118 now and yesterday they did a 117 and, get your calculator out, it could be confusing.
I think all the drivers, we like to drive with low fuel and new tyres. Unfortunately, the tyres will be the same for quali and the race. But I think it will be more interesting for the people as well to add the second qualifying, the times, and more interesting, I think.
So many proposed changes to this sport, it is easy to get confused. We chatted to Bernie Eccleston yesterday though, Mark, didn't we? And he gave a little flicker of hope for Silverstone, saying there could be as many as 19 Grand Prix next season.
Well, it'd be fantastic to have Silverstone back on the calendar. It's been there since 1950, Jim, and I think everybody back in England would love to see it.
Interesting here this afternoon, we talk about the Brazilian Grand Prix. For the first time in his life, Michael Schumacher will be the oldest driver in the field, 36 in January. Made a big one here late in practice.
Exactly. I mean, it's strange to see now. Olivier Panis was the guy who's the oldest one. Now Schumacher, 36 years old, is making a mistake like he made yesterday, and you can see there's a huge impact. As ever, a little bit shaken up, but he's got to stiff up a lip there, checks the car around, making sure that he knows what can be recovered and what can't be. As we know now, that car has actually been dumped. But Michael Schumacher making a mistake which we normally see him getting away with. Rear end of the car bouncing up and down, rear wheels just leave contact with the road, side impact, and he just didn't get away with it. And that's the thing what seems strange to me, Jim. Yeah. We've seen him have little spins, accidents, but he gets away with them. This one he didn't.
Surprised he made a basic error like that?
Surprised at his level, and I'm just surprised that maybe his eyes just off the ball slightly.
And just finally, it's just started to drizzle there. Forecasting rain. The old rainmaster starting from 18th. He'll like that, won't he?
I think he will, and I think Ferrari would have fueled him up. They had the strategy there. They knew they were going to be 10 spots back.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So then it looks as though Ferrari's and Brazil's hopes are pinned very much on Rubens Barrichello, born just round the corner from Interlagos here. He's lived 20 years of his life in Sao Paulo. He's endured the agony, though, of 9 successive retirements at his home Grand Prix. Last year, he even ran out of petrol. But now he's in position to put that right.
For the second year, Rubens Barrichello was quickest in qualifying for his home Grand Prix, a race where he's had more than his fair share of bad luck. But will this 13th career pole prove to be the lucky omen Rubens needs to break the spell? It's looking good so far. Tudo bem, Rubinho?
Tudo bem, tudo ótimo. Tudo ótimo is very well. It makes me feel so proud. I mean, and immense pressure. I had to go there and just do what I'm able to do, which is drive the car, and I was able to do that. So I'm gonna sleep quite nicely.
Well, you got part one done. Now it's the difficult part. Part two, winning the race.
Yeah, part two is the most difficult one. I'm just sitting here, just waiting for what I waited last year, and it seemed that last year was my chance, and obviously something happened along the way.
Rubinho is out of the race. Oh my goodness.
Hopefully tomorrow it's the day to finish with all these taboos and things that I don't believe anyway. I think that I'm a lucky person. I just have to keep on going.
I spoke to Rubens this week, and he seems very tranquil and very confident, and you know, he's a different man these days, and I think he's quite capable of coping with the sort of pressure he's going to face.
What's it going to be like out on that grid when you're on pole position?
I don't know. I have to just to keep it nicely. You know that I used to see Ayrton. Ayrton used to stick to his car and stay quiet inside. I'm a little bit more social. It doesn't really bother me the fact that the public is there. I could get out of the car, wave a little bit to them, but I still keep focused. So that's what I plan to do.
I think Twin Home is a fantastic experience. I won exactly 30 years ago on the McLaren here, and you know, you leave home to go to the racetrack. You sleep on your own bed. It's a fantastic experience. The public behind, I mean, the family, the friends, the whole country be behind. I mean, it's a fantastic experience.
And if he does win, the whole country presumably will explode, will it?
I think it'll be a big party for 2 days. Holiday on Monday.
And they do know how to party in these parts. He looks very relaxed, doesn't he? His name is also Rubens. That's his dad, Rubens Barrichello Sr., sitting right behind us here in the paddock. Right, they're all primed for a party. The old man there, he's looking very relaxed indeed. You, though, have got one guy you think might ruin the script here.
Kimi Räikkönen for me. I think the guy has got good tactics. I think McLaren have got a bit of fuel in there. He'll be one of the last guys to do the first stop, and he's really got the bit between his teeth. He's won a Grand Prix this season, but he wants to get another one under his belt. Last opportunity, as we know. But I think Kimi's the man. I spoke to him literally a few minutes ago, and he's fired up. McLaren stepped up to the plate as well. We've seen his car progressing halfway through the season, and I think he could take it to the end.
He was declared the winner here, wasn't he, in that chaos after the race last year. Fisichella got it in the end, but he just seems to have been happy with his machinery all weekend.
Well, you know, with Kimi, he's got that situation where he jumps in the car. If he hasn't got a few problems, he drives around them. He doesn't get phased out by him, and that's what you need.
Let's look at the two Brits in the race. First of all, Jenson Button. The lap here is so short. If you make a mistake, you pay dearly for it. Jenson did.
Yeah, Jenson, a little bit unfortunate for him and a BAR team. I think they all had high hopes of setting a pole position lap. Just watch him through here, just gets that little wobble on there, takes a little bit of edge off him, cost him a couple of attempts at least, Jim, and I think that could have elevated him out a couple of spots. But don't be perturbed, I think they've got a good race set up.
OK, David Coulthard has it all to do. His farewell drive for McLaren. He had a pretty horrible day yesterday, didn't he? Made a mistake early and never got any real pace after that.
Yeah, I think David actually went out there to put a fiery lap in. He got caught out here as he comes through the centre S-curve. Just watch at the bottom here. Comes through the right-hander. Bush, rear end steps out, has to correct it, and then I think he was just cautious over the remainder of the lap, and it really did cost him. He's well down the field now. He's got a lot of work to do.
He is being replaced at McLaren by Juan Pablo Montoya. He wants to leave at Williams with a real hurrah, and he's in good shape up there on the front row, the Colombian.
Monster Montoya's back. He's definitely put a lap together. I think, you know, Juan is going to do the ultimate race that he can do for Williams. He wants to show these guys that he has got it, and he wants to go to McLaren with a win under his belt. I'm not so sure he's going to have the win today, but I'm really interested to see this guy set off the line with Rubens into turn one.
Absolutely, that thrilling uphill start here. All right then, Mark, there we are. Just confirm how they're going to line up for the final hurrah of F1 2004.
Rubens Barrichello takes pole position for the Brazilian Grand Prix. His fourth pole of 2004. Montoya lines up his fourth appearance this season on the front row. Räikkönen impressive in the McLaren in third. Massa also equals his best qualifying this season. Jenson Button only 4 attempts off pole position. His teammate Sato alongside. Ralf Schumacher in 7th position, Alonso in a solid 8th in the Renault. Trulli and Fisichella round up the top 10. Mark Webber in 11th, his last race for Jaguar. Coulthard struggling in 12th with the McLaren. Villeneuve not impressive with 13th, Zonta alongside him. Christian Klein, probably his last Grand Prix. Nick Heidfeld solid at 16th for the Jordan. Glock ahead of the world champion Michael Schumacher, who's had to take the spare car with an engine change. Baumgartner and Bruni also engine changes and on the back of the grid.
Jenson Button then starting 5th, hoping for his 11th podium of the season. What a great achievement that would be, by the way. And Jenson knowing he's going to be staying right here at BAR next season. That intended move to Williams is off because his current employers hold a valid contract for his services.
3 months ago, Jenson Button announced he was leaving BAR to drive for Williams in 2005. Earlier this week, he announced he was staying put. The long-awaited judgment from the Contract Recognition Board ruled in favour of BAR. Procedural errors by Button's manager, John Byfield, were the deciding factor in a close-run contest.
A bit disappointed. It's not the result I expected, but, you know, it's the CRB's decision, and I'm at BAR next year.
I don't think there are any winners out of this at all, actually. Maybe the winners is Formula One as a whole, but I don't look at it as winning and losing. I look at it just at the end of the day. You know, I think we have to stand up and all of us have to honour our agreements, and I'm sure Jenson reflects on that and believes the same now.
It doesn't make us regret in any way the actions that we took. We had a offer put to us from his management group to say he was available, and anyone in their right would secure the services of Jenson.
You are in a situation where you've been effectively forced to stay with a team that you've quite clearly stated that you didn't want to drive for. How do you resolve that?
It's not that I didn't want to drive here, it's just that I wanted to be somewhere else. But I don't think it'd be too difficult. We do need to sit down and discuss what's happened, definitely, and then put that to the back of our minds and just get on with our jobs.
So it's BAR for the foreseeable future, but it seems that Williams are prepared to wait for their man.
We've had an interest in Jenson for a long time. We gave him his first opportunity in Formula One, and he's a driver in which Frank and I have had close interest for some time, and we hope eventually we'll get back together and that he will be driving for Williams again.
I don't know what my intentions are yet. You know, I have to wait and see what happens next year, and we all want to be with the best team in Formula One, and that might be BAR at the end of next year. It might be someone else, but whatever, it's a long way in the future, and now we've cleared this up, you know, we can concentrate on next year and look at getting a very good result.
Despite all those politics, it's been a great season for Jenson Button, Takuma Sato and the BAR team. Mark, he is there physically, but where do you think his heart is at the moment?
I think his heart's a little bit in no man's land because, you know, he's been through this situation. More importantly, though, Jim, continuity now is going to go into the BAR team for next season. They're going to be very happy about that. Jenson should be happy and make the most of it as well.
The bottom line is for him, he wants to go to Williams because he believes they can deliver a world championship for him. Could he win it at BAR?
Well, if you'd have told me that BAR were going to finish second in the Constructors' Championship this year, I would have said no way. Well, we think they are going to do it. Definitely looks that way. I think it's quite possible.
And they have been doing the business despite all those wranglings, haven't they?
They have, and you've got to take your hat off to everybody there, everybody in that team, the management, the driver. They've all done the business. They've got their heads down and gone on with it.
Just looking at the Constructors' Championship, BAR have made a massive improvement compared to last year. They'll be runners-up to Ferrari, surely. They're plus 90 on their 2003 total. Sauber, Renault, even Minardi have improved. Williams and McLaren contesting 4th and 5th. Two of the heavyweights, well, they have incurred the biggest losses.
The next 2 hours will be critical for every F1 team. The final push for championship points, worth millions of pounds in prize money and just as much in pride. The story of this season's Constructors' Championship is how badly two of the best resourced teams have done. Compared to last year, Ferrari and BAR have improved by over 90 points, but Williams and McLaren on the right here underachieved massively.
Overall, the year has been quite difficult, but at least we got one win and some good results before the end of the year, so that's why we're looking forward for the next year.
The whole season was pretty disappointing, and I must say that was the lowest point of my career. not only because of the accident, especially due to the reason that we had a winning car and just started so bad.
Now Jenson Button is staying at BAR, Williams need to find another driver. Antonio Pizzonia and David Coulthard are favourites, although DC could find himself part of a new 3-car team. That's because Jaguar and Jordan's futures are uncertain and the rest have to make up the numbers. So could we see 3 Ferraris, BARs, McLarens and the rest on next year's grid?
I would say highly likely that it's going to happen, and we'll make it as cost effective as possible, but the important thing is to do what is necessary to make Formula One better, and if that's what it's going to take, that's what we'll do.
Minardi have their own engine programme so they can run fully independent, but Jordan need to find a new engine supplier in the next few weeks. That's tough, but not impossible. As for the team competing for the final time today as Jaguar Racing, the for sale sign is still firmly stuck outside the factory door. But outside the McLaren pit today was the official goodbye for David Coulthard. F1's version of personalised plates for a man with 150 races and 12 wins for the team.
Well, I've got mixed emotions as I go towards Brazil. On one hand, I love the circuit. I've had success there. I won in 2000. And of course, the other thought is it's my last Grand Prix for the West McLaren Mercedes team. And that brings with it naturally some disappointment. And there's also a little bit of excitement about knowing what the future might hold for me, whether that be continuing as a Grand Prix driver, which is my desire, or if that doesn't work out for whatever reason, then moving on to another stage in my life. This is not a business where you just turn up and do the job and clock in and clock out. This is a business of emotion and passion. And you know, I've always put my heart and soul into trying to do the right thing and to do it to the best of my ability. I wanted to win in the right way. Just to stand at the top of the podium when all the other main contenders have crashed out is not how I like to win Grand Prix. The real valuable Grand Prix are the ones where Michael's been standing beside me, Mika and whoever else it may have been, Kimi or whoever at that time. To win them with good competition around you and standing beside you on the podium, you really know that you know, you've mastered a Grand Prix car and being at the top of your game if you can achieve that.
Really sad to see him on the outside looking in at the moment, Mark. Top British driver for 6 of his 11 years. At the top, he's won 13 Grand Prix. I think you'd like to see him in that Williams next year, wouldn't you?
I think he's a logical choice. I mean, he's 33 years old, 3 years younger than the current world champion, 13 Grand Prix wins, as you say. He knows how to develop a car. He knows how to lead a team. And I think Williams need that.
Here he is just coming out to warm up. It's still pretty greasy out there, by the way, but it's really weird, isn't it, Mark? All those races he's had, all that experience, and he needs to deliver this afternoon to get a job.
He does need to deliver, and I think if these conditions stay as they are, Jim, quite possibly it will play into his hands in many respects. And we also know DC is extremely good in the wet weather conditions.
Absolutely. Get wet weather at Interlagos, you get high drama. We'll remind you of last year's race after the break. The rain is continuing to come down. We're 20 minutes from the start of the Brazilian Grand Prix. It is still raining at Interlagos, Sao Paulo, Formula One South American footprint. We've got a Brazilian Barrichello on pole, a Colombian Montoya next door, another boy from Brazil, Massa, all set to samba from fourth. Those fanatical fans, the Paulistas, cannot wait for the start. Mind you, they'll all have to go some to match the hair-raising drama of last year's race in the wet.
The tension then building, the samba drums beginning to beat in the grandstands. We're going to get some racing at Interlagos. The safety car comes in, the crowd are cheering. He hasn't hit the gas yet.
Not a smart thing to do at all, Ruben. And now Coulthard might punish him for that, down into turn 1.
Wow! Kimi Raikkonen puts down a marker for David Coulthard.
Oh, that's Ralph Furman. I think it's a front suspension failure. Oh, big accident.
Montoya and Pizzonia. Michael Schumacher's gone straight on in the same place as Pizzonia.
So Coulthard leads the Grand Prix and the safety car is pitting.
Oh, and that's Button. He was in a promising position. We are down to just 11 cars. No, that's Webber. He spun it. Same place as everyone else. Can he rescue? Yes, he can. Barrichello's through into the lead. Listen to the crowd. I don't believe it. Rubinho is out of the race. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Barrichello takes the lead. What a move. And that's a big shunt for Mark Webber.
Oh, And we've got another car
Alonso,
off.
the race-winning car in Parc Fermé has caught fire. Well, if ever you wanted a bizarre day, this is surely it.
Things were very different for Jaguar when they raced here last year, but now after 5 years, 84 Grand Prix and 2 podium finishes, the team are coming to the end of the road. This is the last time that their 2 cars will be seen on the grid. It's been a difficult weekend for all the team members out here. They're facing an uncertain future, but happily they're facing it with a smile on their faces, thanks in no small part to this chap. No, I don't mean Mark Webber. I mean this chap down here. Mark, tell us the story.
Well, Donkey's been with us since Spa, but he's done everything. He's part of the team of the factory. He's been the safety car. He's been in every chassis in the pit lane, I think, except the Williams. So, but it's quite hard to get a Williams seat actually. So, but he's done it. All the drivers have signed him. We're going to auction him off to a charity. He did the driver photo shoot this morning. So. He's done a lot of things, so he's even been interviewed by you. So yeah, it's been good. And like you say, we're trying to do it with a smile on our face. We've got to go out with the best result possible. It's going to be a tricky start. It's good for everyone at home to watch the excitement of the first race. The first few laps are going to be tricky.
We hope it goes well for you, Mark. Thanks.
Thanks, Colin.
Yeah, great sympathy, great credit to everybody at Jaguar for the way they have endured these horrible last moments of their F1 career. I want to talk to you, Mark Blundell, really about the dramatic change in conditions we've had here since we've been on air, really, and we saw, looking back at last year's race, what an evil place this can be in the wet.
Oh, it can be very bad indeed, and we saw on the video clip earlier the amount of cars that came off the circuit. There's like a parking lot out there at some points, but you know, this is a situation that the teams and the drivers have been in before. Last few minutes it's really got heavy drizzle coming down. They now need to make some decisions on what they're going to do, but pretty much in terms of fuel we're all baselined out. It's what the drivers want to do tactically.
It was a lot heavier, the rain here last year, but there were actually rivers across the circuit, weren't there?
Yeah, very much indeed. Huge amount of water when it gets dispersed across the track. There's nowhere for it to go, and the cars get caught out quite easily.
Okay, let's go down to Martin down there on the grid. Martin, I didn't know it actually, read it in your book. You almost died at this place, didn't you? What was it, Jos Verstappen's wheel on your head or something like that?
Yeah, I did 10 years ago, Jim. In fact, it's one of my favourite chapters in that particular book. But what a strange grid we've got down here today. One of the most weird I've ever been on, I have to say, probably the most difficult, in fact, for many people. Of course, you've got 2 locals at the sharp end of the grid on the first and second row, as Jim pointed out. But there's a lot of people with difficult jobs here today. Are the teams going to be in business? Are drivers going to be in business next year? So many of them on this grid are out of contract or moving to other teams. This is the back of the grid, look. And this, nobody behind this is Michael Schumacher's car. That's how far he's back. It's slippery like anything. It's just a little bit too wet, I suspect, for the Michelin runners to start on their dry tyres, where they will just decimate the Bridgestone runners if they start on dry tyres. I think this might just play into Bridgestone's hand. It's really, really difficult to call at the moment. Now, yesterday during qualifying, I said there were some doubts over the Jordan team and Jaguar team for next year. You've already heard from Louise. Eddie, I came into this paddock Friday morning. 5 key people said to me, Jordan and Jaguar are finishing next year. We're having to run 3 cars. Was that a very clever tactical move by you?
No, I had nothing to do with this. I think that was there was a lot of rumours, as indeed there has been for some time. But in actual fact, this particular weekend here in Brazil, just like last year, it has been a huge step forward for us. And honestly, we will be, for sure, making the entry, and we will be on the grid. We have to get a supply of engine, which we think we've made good progress here this weekend.
Well, I'm hearing literally 10 minutes ago that you may have secured Toyota engines.
Here to do this race, and we can talk about things like that at a later stage, but it has been a huge, massive step forward for all of Jordan. Fantastic.
All right, brilliant news for the team. Well done. Now let's see what else is going on around here. I'm desperate to try and find out what, James, what do you think the tyres are going to be for the Bridgestone runners?
Going to be very difficult, probably on the intermediate tyre, I would think.
Okay, thanks. So intermediates for Bridgestone, I think that's their only option. And the Jaguar team here, Clean's car. I desperately want to try and get hold of David Coulthard if he's around. If he's not getting in the car, it's going to be difficult today because so many people left the pits with about 2 or 3 minutes ago. They wanted to come onto the track at the last possible moment so they could get the best feel they can of what the track conditions are. Coulthard went out on dry tyres. I don't know what he's likely to start the race on. Let's see if he's back on the grid. I can see Simone, but I can't and DC is not on the grid at this time. Okay, let's see if we can find somebody else running those tyres. Here's Bernie and Max down here. There have been so many changes this year. I just wonder. Max and Bernie, huge changes for Formula One. Team managers running all over the place, making decisions on the hoof. It's been a weird weekend.
Be quiet. Now you're an author, you're writing books and things like that, and now...
Have you got my new book?
I'm going to buy it. Well, I was hoping you were going to give me one. What's the name of it so I get it right?
Working the Wheel, actually, Working the Wheel.
But I just wanted you to make sure that you give me the right book.
Yeah, well, you got me into a lot of trouble now.
Got the plug done now, so...
Yeah.
Do you want to know anything about Formula One?
I want to know everything.
About selling your book?
I know. I want to know everything about Formula One.
No, well, it's all looking good for next year, I think, except nobody will agree about anything.
But why are we making so many changes on the hoof? Why isn't it done in a 3-day meeting on a tropical island somewhere instead of running around signing a piece of paper?
The actual changes have been done over a period of 3 months, and the bit of paper doesn't really count for much because a lot of people haven't signed it, being serious for a moment. So that's something maybe for the future, but the real changes have all been done over a period of 3.5 months.
Bernie and Max, thank you very much. We've got to go back to the studio.
Thank you very much indeed, Martin. The first time into Lagos has staged the final race of the season. Rubens Barrichello has got everything right so far, but he has failed to finish 10 times here. Montoya, Raikkonen, Massa and Button all want to ruin his script. It could be David Coulthard's F1 farewell as well. Conditions are very tricky indeed. Stand by for the Brazilian Grand Prix. It is raining steadily. We've got 5 different manufacturers up front, a local hero on pole, a full house willing their man Barrichello on. That's the scenario for the final chapter of the longest season in F1 history. It is the Brazilian Grand Prix on ITV1 from Interlagos, Sao Paulo, with Martin Brundle and James Allen.
Thank you very much, Jim. Hello, everybody. Yep, as you say, Jim, Formula One has taken the long way home this year. 18 races in 16 different countries, and now here we are at the season finale, Brazilian Grand Prix. Rubens Barrichello there said on Thursday he was not expecting any presence from his Ferrari teammate Michael Schumacher in his quest to win his home Grand Prix. But then in free practice, Schumacher went and offered him a gift-wrapped opportunity. Crashing very heavily in practice, he had to take a new chassis and a new engine, and with the rules in Formula One, when you change your engine, you go back 10 places on the grid. And that means that Michael Schumacher starts from 18th position this afternoon. But then this rain, as we know, could well play into the hands of Michael Schumacher, the lap record holder at this track here at Interlagos. Well, you know, Schumacher has only qualified outside the top 10 on 4 occasions in his Formula One career to date. 2 of them have been in the last 3 races at Shanghai in China and here in Brazil. Draw your own conclusions from that. Certainly the end of the season for Schumacher a little bit more unsteady than what has gone before. Barrichello, though, is the favourite to win here this afternoon, but his track record at this home circuit for him, he grew up in Sao Paulo, lived here for the first 18 years of his life, is pretty poor. 10 retirements in 11 starts. That man there, Kimi Raikkonen, is one of the people that will certainly make him work pretty hard for it this afternoon. He starts 3rd on the grid. Juan Montoya also in the Williams BMW, his last outing for Williams. He will make Barrichello work hard as well. He's starting alongside the Brazilian on the front row of the grid. And watch out too for Jenson Button. A little bit disappointing in qualifying. There you can see though, 5th on the grid, made a little mistake. Without that, perhaps he might have been on the front row. But I am reliably informed that Honda are turning the wick up on that engine. They really would like to finish the season on a high. As you know, the engines have to last a whole Grand Prix weekend, so they do run them at different levels. They do try to protect them. Today, Honda are turning the wick up. They're going for broke, and Button and Sato will have maximum revs and maximum power in an attempt to get on terms. But of course, in these wet conditions, that's not such a massive advantage as it would be in the dry. But we've seen all sorts of things over the years here in Brazil. Tracks drying out, and this next 2 hours is guaranteed to be eventful. It is the end of an era in many senses. David Coulthard's last Grand Prix for the McLaren team after 9 years, 150 races together, and 12 victories. Juan Pablo Montoya and Ralf Schumacher their last outing for BMW Williams before going off to McLaren and Toyota respectively. And as we've heard before, Jaguar's last Grand Prix, parent company Ford, that man there, Emerson Fittipaldi, he won World Championships with Ford. And their association, Martin, with Formula One, you've driven for them in the past, ending after 38 years. You cannot underestimate what a feeling of the end of the era it is with Ford Motor Company leaving Formula One.
I know, it's sort of almost too difficult to believe, isn't it? And really, let's hope they're back soon. Many manufacturers have gone away from Formula One and come back again. And BMW, of course, being one of them that's powering the Williams there. We're understanding that Ralf Schumacher's on Inters. Since I was on the grid walking back, it's drizzling rather than spitting with rain, and I think Inters will be the only option. That'll hand quite a big advantage, I think, to the Bridgestone runners. Now, while you're looking at that safety car there, is that if it's needed on the first lap, we've had so many crashes here, of course, in the first lap, and we know it's like a tunnel on the pit straight, high walls, nowhere to recover the cars. And that's quite a clever move. It's a very clever move because it positions the safety car so it can pick up the pack at the bottom of the hill leading into the pit straight, instead of course having to pick them up after they've been through the accident site once already. But the track is much wetter than it looks from that high camera angle, and we'll have to see what the drivers can make of this. Rubens Barrichello with most to lose. He's the fastest driver out there this weekend. You never really want variable conditions like this. You can tend to only go wrong. They're the Michelin intermediates there on Montoya's car. Rubens Barrichello with intermediates too.
Yeah, I think most people will be starting with the intermediate tyre. It's a big gamble. The Michelins tend to like slightly damper tracks more than the Bridgestones do on the slick tyre, but I think, as Martin said, the track is damper than it looks. It's been raining here in Interlagos for about half an hour, and that's given the track a little greasy sheen. It's still drizzling here now, and well, as I say, a long way to go. 71 laps then of this 2.67 mile Interlagos circuit, one of the favourites for the drivers. You can definitely overtake here. 70,000 crowd this afternoon. Many of them have been here since about 7 o'clock this morning, playing their drums and cheering and screaming. It really is one of the best crowds of the year here in Sao Paulo. Lots of spirit, and they're very happy because their man Rubens Barrichello is trying to become only the 4th Brazilian in over 30 years to win the Brazilian Grand Prix. Carlos Pace, Emerson Fittipaldi, and of course the great Ayrton Senna, the only Brazilians to achieve that.
We think that Coulthard and Villeneuve are on dry tyres. I think they've got less to lose than some of the others. They're quite a long way back on the grid. They're 12th and 13th of the 20 runners. Michael Schumacher, the back of the field on the Inters. But remember, the intermediate Bridgestones, I'll go through it one more time, they have a much bigger window of operation. They will go further into a drying track, and they have to, because the Bridgestone dry tyres do not like a slippery surface. So there'll be a crossover, I suspect, in this race. I am told in the next hour, the team's weather forecasters, who have been slightly surprised by the level of precipitation that we've had, they are expecting some heavier rain later on. But what would be going through my mind now, James, right now, as they're coming to the grid, is not how am I going to get away, it's where am I going to brake into the first turn. And it's going to be a complete unknown. I think you'll see varying levels of confidence as they head down, hopefully not to a front wing crunching situation.
Well, you saw Villeneuve going through frame, as Martin said, using the dry weather tyres. That's David Coulthard, and he too is on the dry tyres. We've often seen Coulthard, that's Villeneuve, I beg your pardon. So both the Renaults, it must have been Alonso before, both the Renaults using the dry tyres, I think, from the looks of things. You've seen Coulthard being more bold than many other drivers on a damp track, taking the dry tyre. He's got nothing to lose, as Martin was saying. And to give you an idea of the amount of progress they make in Formula One, Zolt Baumgartner's at the back of the grid in the Minardi in a time which, if he'd done it last year here, would have put him on pole position in front of the Ferraris. That's how much even the back of the grid teams like Minardi make progress. Someone's dived into the pit lane, though.
Bruni, we think, in the pit lane. Yes, Bruni has pitted in the Minardi. He was 19th on the grid. Presumably they want to change some strategy. Hopefully he does not have a problem. And Baumgartner, both Minardis in the pits then.
A little bit of smoke there, looking on board from Alonso's car. That looks like Jenson Button. Well, I was telling you that they were turning the revs up on that car. There's an awful lot of smoke and steam coming out of it. I hope it's okay. Here we go then, 5 lights on. When they go off, we'll be racing in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Great start by Barrichello. Montoya goes defensive, but it's too late. Raikkonen's through, and so is Felipe Massa. And the 2 BARs have not had a terrific start. It looks like one of them has dived in front, but no doubt who the leader is on home soil. It's Rubens Barrichello. Everyone's slithering and sliding. And just look at Raikkonen, side by side with Barrichello, down the back straight. Has he got the momentum? He's certainly got the inside line into the late descent corner. And Raikkonen takes the lead. Dramatic start.
Raikkonen's got so much grip and confidence. Look at Montoya getting squeezed out on the outside of turn 4. I didn't like the look of that smoke from Jenson Button's BAR on the grid. It was like a black smoke rather than an oil smoke from an overfill. But at the moment, he's running nicely, and I think just taking a position.
Raikkonen leads, Barrichello second, Massa third, Montoya fourth, fifth is Button, sixth Trulli, seventh Takuma Sato, eighth Ralf Schumacher, ninth is Fisichella, and 10th is Zonta. And there's Jenson Button. You can see he's moved up into third place now. He's managed to get himself past Montoya and Felipe Massa.
Well, Massa going well on the Bridgestones. I'm very surprised at Barrichello being so overcautious. Maybe it's because he's only ever finished this race once in 10 attempts. He doesn't want to throw it off on the first lap, of course. But at the moment, the Michelin runners definitely have the more confidence. Let's see if those Bridgestones get up to temperature. Michael up to 12th already. We're on board with him. He had oversteered through the fast corners. That's a scary experience at 180 miles an hour.
Yep, the Jaguar Christian Klein, the one he wants to pass. A bit of a contact there. Schumacher's dived down the inside, but we saw some debris there, Martin. Which car did that come off? Schumacher running wide at turn 1 in his attempt to pass Christian Klein. There he is now, you see, going through your screen now. He's had to give back the place to Klein. Black car parts flying through the air there.
Alonso, Villeneuve and Coulthard all on the dry tyres, 15th, 16th and 17th. They haven't actually, they're just going towards the end of the first sector now. Very, very slow on those dry tyres. And Raikkonen got away very well, look, behind Barrichello. Montoya having to get very, very wide. Michael Schumacher right at the back, right-hand corner of the grid there, getting squeezed up against the pit wall. But he seems to have a lot of confidence. There's a Renault in the middle. They're struggling to turn in of Villeneuve, and the 2 Jaguars hustling him through the corner. And this then is Raikkonen with a brilliant drive out of turn 3. Takes the right line. We got car 7 is off track, I'm seeing, as we're seeing a replay of Raikkonen comfortably taking the lead of the Grand Prix. And look, this is why car 7 is off the track. And is that 7 in terms of...
No, 7's Villeneuve. He's gone straight on at turn 1. That's Fisichella. That happened at the very early part of the Grand Prix. We're working on lap 3. You can see the order. Raikkonen, dramatic pass at the opening lap. Look at this, though. Down the inside goes to BAR, Jenson Button and Felipe Massa having a terrific scrap there. Massa had passed Button and so had Montoya on that lap. We're now riding on board with Felipe Massa. Button has got himself back in front of him, and now Massa attacking again on the run down towards late descent. Michael Schumacher has spun. It's all going off here at Interlagos on lap 3. Tremendous action, and this is what you get when a drizzly condition happens on the racetrack. That's what happened to Michael Schumacher. Again involved with Christian Klein. No contact. There's a back end just swinging round.
Yeah, so Michael just touching the white line on the inside. Sometimes it pulls the car around, and this is where he spun in turn 2. He's been pushing very hard in there, and when it goes wrong for Michael, like back in China, it all goes wrong, doesn't it? Raikkonen led by 0.8 of a second from Barrichello. Montoya is third, and look at that, right behind the Ferrari. Massa remains 4th. Button has a problem. That smoke on the grid looks like it could be terminal. They're clearing a space in the garage for Jenson Button. Disaster.
Yeah, that's a real shame for him. There you can see now Barrichello is lining up Kimi Raikkonen. This is the favourite passing place here at Interlagos. He's right up in his draft. He comes down the inside. Barrichello for the lead in Brazil. Yes, he makes it stick.
He does indeed. I'm surprised Raikkonen didn't make him go the long way round. I think he probably realised with a toe and extra speed off Juncao, he was always going to pass him. But Raikkonen making that particularly easy for Rubens Barrichello. Now then, 0.8 of a second separate the top 3 with Felipe Massa keeping them in sight down the back straight. Sato 5th, Ralf Schumacher 6th, Trulli 7th. Here is a replay. The perfect slipstream came out actually quite late. Vortices turning and boiling off the back wing of that Ferrari as it pushes it into the ground, and he's got tremendous braking capacity when he gets there, and that, I fear, is Jenson Button.
Well, I told you they were going to turn the wick up this afternoon. It has not worked, but they didn't have anything to lose, really. They're pretty sure that Renault are not going to score 16 points, is what they need to do to overtake them for second. There you can see the smoke, which we saw on the dummy grid, is, well, it's terminal once again for Honda, but what a tremendous season they and Jenson Button have had. 10 podiums this year. He continued on past the pits, as you could see. He wanted to keep racing because he has proved this year he is a true racer. Fastest man on the track at the moment, though, Martin, is one Pablo Montoya. As you can see, he's closed right up behind Kimi Raikkonen. That last lap for Montoya, a good half-second quicker than the two men in front of him. Felipe Massa, interestingly as well, is keeping pace. We believe he's running a lighter fuel load than the others, but he's got a lot of straight-line speed in that Sauber.
Yeah, and these Bridgestone Inters are now delivering the kind of pace we're expecting. Ralf Schumacher is pitting. I suspect that is for dry tyres. This is Coulthard and Villeneuve fighting over last place. They're on dry Michelin tyres, and it's not working out for them. Alonso, though, on dry Michelins, now the fastest man on the track by 2.6 seconds. The track is changing corner by corner, and the Michelin's really coming on song if you're on dries. I suspect we'll have to see Raikkonen pit at the end of this lap. This is where the Bridgestone Inters can go. That window is wider. They can go a little bit further.
It's not looking too bad then for Alonso. He's on the right tyres. He's 15th in this race at the moment, but 22 seconds down on the race leader. But you need around about 21 or 22 seconds to make a stop here. So he's going to pass a lot of people in front of him who have to make pit stops. It's going to get very busy indeed in the pit lane in a minute, and Ted Kravitz is down there.
That Renault time was the trigger for all of them. They're now coming out for Juan Montoya. McLaren are out. BAR also out for Takuma Sato. The ones who aren't, of course, who can go the longest are Ferrari. But how long before Rubens Barrichello has to put on slicks?
Indeed, as we said, now you've got then Barrichello first, Massa, a Brazilian 1-2. And the crowd are surely going crazy as we see it. Raikkonen, Montoya in the McLaren, and the Williams, Sato into, as is truly in the Toyota, who was running 7th.
Christian Klien is 5th for Jaguar. He's on Michelin tyres. He has not stopped. Neither is his Jaguar teammate, Mark Webber. They're going for a little bit of glory, side by side, down the pit lane. It looks to me like a Montoya-Raikkonen battle, that one, Martin.
Well,
that was very close. Here's Michael Schumacher. He's gone for dry tyres as well. That little gamble of putting heavy fuel in his car for qualifying yesterday didn't work. And, well, what can Schumacher do from here? He's going to be well back.
Raikkonen and Montoya will be teammates at McLaren next year. They were nearly sharing the same piece of tarmac, exiting the pit lane, and Montoya has braved it out around the outside, makes it stick, and he's taken the place.
This is important psychologically for these two. They're going to be teammates at McLaren next year, as Martin has just said. And, well, whoever gets on top in the final Grand Prix of the season, going into the winter, they'll be looking at each other throughout winter testing. A huge programme of work going on. And Raikkonen will know, or whoever loses will know that the other one beat them in the final race.
Massa 1.3 seconds faster than Barrichello in the first 2 sectors as Button walks back to the pit. Massa's about to take the lead, unless he has to pit for fuel anytime soon. Imagine he can go quite a bit further yet. But and Barrichello pits. Massa is in the lead for Sauber.
Absolutely extraordinary here at Interlagos. There is the former race leader, Rubens Barrichello. Felipe Massa in only his 34th Grand Prix. The 23-year-old Brazilian is leading here at Sao Paulo.
Massa's made a mistake going round, though. He's leading for a lap, and that's good glory. But Alonso is now just 11.5 seconds behind him, lapping 4 seconds a lap faster, and he's going to have to pit stop. I think it might just be done in a fuel window, James, for him. Will minimise the damage. He was expected in sometime around lap 10 or 11. This is lap 7 that they're on. But Alonso, the man on the move, now up to 3rd place. Second, actually.
That was Mark Webber in the Jaguar, pitting from 6th place, so staying out seemed to have worked okay for him. We enter a chaotic phase now where everybody sorts themselves out. We still haven't seen Massa in the pits. We have not seen Alonso. We won't do either because he's on the dry tyres. Klien has been in. Heidfeld in the Jordan has not been in. He is up into 5th place. That's Zolt Baumgartner in the Minardi. The track drying out here in Brazil. This is lap 7, and Massa, there he is, still the race leader. Is he going to pit this time? Yes, he is. He dives down to the left. His lap of glory was a sweet memory for him, but the man you've got to watch out for here is Fernando Alonso, because I believe he is leading this Grand Prix now. Rubens Barrichello having made a pit stop.
Yeah, that's how Alonso moved up to second. Now, as you say, he's moved up to first. He's lapping in a 1:15.6. Those on the intermediates are doing sort of 22s and 1 minute 23s. So Alonso leads from Montoya, Raikkonen, Heidfeld in the Jordan is up into P5 at the moment. Ralf Schumacher 6th, he has stopped. Fisichella 7th, Sato 8th. Barrichello came out and is showing his 9th. Villeneuve started on dry tyres up to 10th. Him and Coulthard now lapping nicely.
Tremendous scrap going down the straight there. Takuma Sato involved in that. Fisichella, Barrichello. There he is in the Ferrari. So it's all chopping and changing here at Sao Paulo, Brazil. This is lap 8. And Fernando Alonso has taken a gamble on the dry tyres in the Renault at the start of this Grand Prix. And it's starting to look as though that Renault is looking pretty handy here. Lap 11 of 71 in Sao Paulo, Brazil, the final race of the 2004 World Championship, and it's a thriller. Fernando Alonso is leading ahead of Juan Montoya and Kimi Raikkonen, but look at this, Michael Schumacher trying to get alongside David Coulthard. Coulthard going to resist him though?
He squeezes him up the curb on the inside. We know that Michael took some wing off because he had to take a 10th-place drop on the grid. He had more speed down the back. Coulthard saying, "You're not coming past me, mate." 100% of people think that DC is out of Formula One next year. Cawthorne, myself, and Coulthard himself are absolutely sure we're going to find something for him, and he's racing pretty feistily today. They're fighting over 8th place at the moment. Alonso on a 1 minute 12.9, a new lap record. He's absolutely flying. You're just watching a replay of Montoya and Raikkonen braving it out down the pit lane.
Yeah, we saw that earlier on. They both rode over someone's walkie-talkie, so I don't imagine there'll be too much sound coming out of that from now on. Jenson Button went for glory here, turned the wick up on the Honda. It hasn't worked. He's talking now with Louise Goodman.
Yeah, Jenson, as James has just been saying, Honda said they were going to turn the wick up for this race. Looks like they turned it up a bit too high.
As far as I know, there's no different to the last race. It's very disappointing, you know, to have something happen before you've even started the race. You know, I had a fire on the grid, and I thought as soon as I got going, I'd be able to put it out. But we sat there for so long, I think it's destroyed some of the electrics because the engine was down on power for the 3 laps that I completed, which is a real pity because you know the car was working well, and I was able to get up to 3rd place while the other guys were napping, and it could have been a very interesting result, I think.
Disappointing last race, but on the whole, not too much to complain about this season.
No, it's a great season, you know, to get to 10 podiums, and you know the media's been a little bit up and down because of the CRB, but it's been a great year all round. It's just a pity we couldn't end on a high. It's a disappointing way to end.
Thanks, gents. We'll see you in Melbourne.
CRB Contract Recognition Board, which decided this week Jenson Button will stay with BAR for next year, not moving to Williams, and taking this man Montoya's seat. Montoya moving to McLaren. Of course, he's currently in 2nd place, 8.5 seconds adrift of Alonso. Alonso just had a poor lap. Presumably it was traffic, and Montoya's cut that lead down to 7 seconds. 1.6 behind Montoya. In 3rd is Raikkonen.
Yep, and he's the fastest man on the track at the moment, Kimi Raikkonen. David Coulthard, his teammate, also going very strongly in 8th place, and I was very impressed with the way he fought off Michael Schumacher there. That was a clear statement from Coulthard. This is my last Grand Prix in a McLaren, maybe in the front-running team, who knows, but you ain't coming past me. Those two have had some run-ins. Remember Manucor a few years ago, and well, Coulthard has beaten Schumacher on occasions, and he's beaten him here at the moment. Alonso leading the race then from Montoya 2nd, Raikkonen 3rd, 8.5 seconds behind Alonso. Ralf Schumacher is 13 seconds behind the Spaniard in 4th place. Sato 5th, 15 seconds back from Alonso. And Barrichello, the early race leader, is down 23 seconds. What we've seen here then, Martin, is the situation where I think the Bridgestone people on their intermediate tyres, Barrichello and Massa in particular, they felt a bit bold, didn't they? They knew that they would go a little bit longer. They stayed out the extra lap, and the Michelin drivers who came in a lap earlier, they benefited. Montoya, Raikkonen, Ralf Schumacher and Sato all managed to get themselves ahead of Barrichello. And Massa, well, he's really dropped out of the picture. He is down into 10th place, having stayed out the longest of all.
David Coulthard just broke the lap record with a 1:12.7, and that was immediately followed by Montoya, also fractionally faster on a 1:12.7. The track is clearly bone dry. That's 2.1 seconds faster than the lap record. Immense pace. This is the sweet spot The air is nice and cool. The track still got rubber on it. We didn't have heavy rain. Everything works so nicely. Alonso is giving that Renault full bananas. He wants everything out of it. He knows he's got a closing Montoya behind him.
Well, you know, I was talking to one of the Renault engineers this weekend, and they said, this guy, there is no one faster than him in race conditions. They've never worked with anybody who pushes as hard as he does, and he really does put every single lap, absolute maximum commitment. It'll be very interesting to see him alongside Giancarlo Fisichella next year in this Renault team. His qualifying this season's been a little bit up and down. He threw it off the road early on in the season a couple of times. I think his confidence a little dented on the single lap, but every time he's been in a race, he's been absolutely magic. A long leading still by second. We're unfortunate, and I hope is that Montoya will come out to lap. No, it's a back marking Minardi, so that explains the speed differential. Huge stop then from 195 miles an hour down to 60 for the Senna S. Kimi Räikkönen. This is the corner where all the people crashed last year on the river of water, but the track, as Martin's just said, bone dry now here. We've got some terrific racing conditions in Brazil, and Räikkönen is in pursuit of his teammate for next year, Juan Montoya, and second place.
Coulthard pits then for what I would imagine is his first scheduled stop of the afternoon. Ted is down there.
Good stop so far by the McLaren boys. Coulthard was in a brilliant battle with Jacques Villeneuve. He was much quicker than Villeneuve in the middle sector. An earlier stop there than Renault. Let's see if DC can put the hammer down, try to pass Villeneuve in the stops.
Very emotional moment this morning when Coulthard was given a presentation by his mechanics, and a lot of them broke into tears, including DC himself. A highly charged emotion for this final race for McLaren.
Yep, there's been a lot of emotion in a lot of places. The Jaguar mechanics not quite sure what's going to be happening to them. The team up for sale from the Ford Motor Company. A lot of people a little bit uncertain about the future. A lot of politics been going around this weekend as well, which has pretty much characterised this Formula One season. Some good racing, tremendous domination from Ferrari, and huge amount of politics about the future of the sport going on in the background. Alonso leading then. Montoya just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. There he is in second place. Really wants to see out his BMW Williams career on a high with a victory. Yet to win in 2004, Juan Montoya. He's in second place. Räikkönen still third. Ralf Schumacher fourth for Williams. Fifth for BAR is Sato, and sixth still Rubens Barrichello. That home Grand Prix victory starting not to look all that clever for Barrichello. The car isn't any quicker than the front runners at the moment. He's matching Alonso's lap times, but he's not as fast as Montoya at this stage of the Grand Prix. And you know, Martin, one or two people saying in the paddock this morning that perhaps the Michelin tyre had a slight edge here. You'd have to say at the moment on this track, in these conditions, that would appear to be the case.
Certainly plenty fast enough, aren't they? Let's have a look. Yes, 4 Michelin runners, 5 Michelin runners in the top 5. Barrichello, though, is matching them for pace. He's currently 6th. And remember, though, Alonso has yet to make his pit stop. He's leading handsomely, having having lost so much time with those dry tyres in the slippery conditions early on. Alonso from Montoya, Räikkönen 3rd, Ralf Schumacher 4th, Sato 5th, Barrichello 6th, Villeneuve 7th in the sister Renault. Michael Schumacher now up to 8th after Coulthard's pit stop. Massa, the glory over at the moment. He's 38 seconds off the lead in 9th.
So Fernando Alonso, just 23 years of age. What an explosive start he made to Formula One. Has only done 50 Grand Prix in his very young career, but we know he won that Hungarian Grand Prix very dramatically from pole position last year, and a lot expected from him. It's been a strange season for Alonso. He's been very consistent. He's had podiums and he's scored some points. He's 4th at the moment in the World Championship, and yet the lingering feeling really is one of slight disappointment. This Renault has been a tricky car to drive all season. The drivers Trulli and Alonso and Jacques Villeneuve have all said it's been tricky. We've got a yellow flag somewhere out on the course, but part of the problem is they run this car very differently from all the other Formula One cars. The weight distribution much more towards the back. It makes for a car that tends to push into the corners a lot, and it's a particular way you have to drive it. I know Alonso has tried to squeeze the most out of it, but he's looking forward to something a bit easier to drive next year, and that is Nick Heidfeld in the Jordan. He's spun it at turn 10.
Bit the smoke there. Sometimes you get a welling up of heat, and that makes things smoke a little bit, or whether he had a particular mechanical problem, we'll try and find out for you. Meanwhile, Barrichello smashes the lap record yet again. He's P6, but he's doing a 1:12.4. Supreme skill out there this afternoon, James.
Yeah, certainly is. Barrichello 5 seconds behind Takuma Sato, and at the moment 24 seconds adrift of Alonso. A lot of work to do here for Rubens Barrichello. We're riding on board with one of the two Saubers. Nice rearward shot. You can see the grandstands here in Sao Paulo packed with enthusiastic people from the area called Paulistas. It's a tremendous city, this. Lots of nightlife, lots of excitement. Into the pits, though, comes the race leader, Fernando Alonso. This is lap 18. Remember, he started on dry tyres. This is his first pit stop of the afternoon, so he was carrying a reasonable amount of fuel in qualifying yesterday, and he's looking pretty good at the moment. Montoya responds immediately by setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, a 1:12.2. He will take over the lead as a two-stop fuel load goes into Alonso's car.
You'd have to say this is working out better in terms of strategy unfolding, James, for Alonso at this time. But as you say, Montoya, who now leads the Grand Prix, extremely fast. He's pulled out a gap of about 3 seconds over Raikkonen. And third place man at the moment then will be the sister Williams of Ralf Schumacher.
Lap 22 of this 71-lap Brazilian Grand Prix, final race of the season. The man in form at the moment is very much Juan Montoya. He's leading this race by 4 seconds now from his teammate for next year, Kimi Raikkonen. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams is third. Got a speed differential there. Montoya, he is really charging here. This is great to see. You can see why McLaren wanted him. They said yesterday, Ron Dennis said, we believe we can get so much more out of Juan Montoya than the Williams have managed to do. He's put a bit of weight on this season. He's had an up and down year. We believe we can really do something with this guy. He is a sensational driver, wonderful car control, and so aggressive. And we're seeing all of that here this afternoon. Takuma Sato is fourth. Fifth, the fastest man on the track at the moment, Rubens Barrichello, a 1:11.986 on that last lap. Mesmerising pace from him, but he is 17.5 seconds down on the race leader. Alonso is sixth, having led for much of the early phase. He took the gamble to start this race on dry tyres. It certainly seemed to work for him early on, and he's doing really well. And Michael Schumacher, who started 18th on the grid, has now worked his way up into 7th place.
Including a spin at turn 2, of course, early on, which is most un-Michael-like, isn't it? But shape for Michael, he does tend to make more than one mistake. Barrichello is about to smash the lap record on this lap. Ralf Schumacher has just been on 11.958. Barrichello is going to be 1:11.62. Enjoy this, because the cars are changing fundamentally for next year, and they're going to be quite a bit slower. And then 2.4 V8 engines for 2006. This could be the high point in terms of lap speeds.
Yeah, certainly could be. We're looking at 2 race engines for next year. They've got to last over 2 Grand Prix. They'll be qualifying on Saturday afternoon, again on Sunday morning, aggregate times, but 1 set of tyres to last an entire Grand Prix weekend, and a 30% cut in aerodynamic downforce. What does it all add up to? It adds up to about 4 to 5 seconds a lap slower than they're going at the moment. So you're looking at cars going back to the sort of pace they were showing back in sort of 2001, 2002. Just shows you the relentless progress in Formula One. And, well, I'm sure they'll have to slow them down again in a few years' time, because they will claw back a lot of the aerodynamic performance, won't they, the engineers?
Yes, I remember going to a press conference where they reduced turbo boost, this is in the 80s, down to 2.5 bars. In the press conference, everybody laughed. They thought it was outrageous. And immediately the cars were faster the following year. We know how skillful the engineers are, and all of the instruments they have available to them with the wind tunnels and the data and simulation. They'll haul some of that back. But I have to say, this is a big change. Michael Schumacher, we are on board with, and he's just 0.2 behind Alonso, who of course recently stopped, put a lot of fuel on board. Alonso is on course. I think he's nicely on schedule, how he anticipated his afternoon running. Renault's ran much further than anybody else. They were the last 2 to stop. Michael's prodigious straight line speed, not quite enough there to get past Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, it's a terrific scrap though. You can see he's not going to give up. This is the corner where Schumacher had his accident on Saturday morning. He lost it there, the car snapped left, and he buried it into the barriers at over 120 miles an hour. Mark Webber, oh no! A sad end to his career with the Jaguar team. He's knocked the front wing off, presumably trying to pass. Oh no, that's just what they didn't need. What a sorry way to end Jaguar's adventure in Formula One, and it's not been a successful adventure by any stretch of the imagination, and that is as bad as it gets, hitting your own teammate.
Yeah, Mark will be extremely sad about that. Not as sad, I imagine, as the bosses of the team. I was talking to Dave Pitchforth and Tony Purnell, and they said, oh, just for the boys have kept their chin up. They've been so brilliant. We want the cars to finish, and well, that is the worst case scenario.
Certainly is. Jaguar pulling out of Formula One, but they are going to stay, keep some initiatives alive. They sponsor a program called F1 in schools, which is designed to get young school children interested in engineering. It's a wonderful concept, and they're going to continue to sponsor them and bring young engineers into Formula One in the future. Well, Ted's down in the Jaguar garage. It must be a pretty sorry atmosphere there, I'd imagine.
Oh, it's terrible. The arms went up, shaking their heads. They cannot believe it. Furious scenes on the pit wall. They're actually coming out into the box to see if Mark can make it back. In fact, Christian Klein is also coming back. See if they can get him back out in the race, salvage some kind of result from this sorry Grand Prix.
Yeah, well, Mark, you wouldn't have seen it, Ted, as you were hunting down the Jaguar people. Mark out of the car and on the side of the racetrack. Klein, as you say, in the pits for a new nose. And, well, Mark's done a brilliant job for the Jaguar team. I have to say that's the last thing I thought he'd do.
Yeah, really, really strange. But there we are. I don't think he's got an awful lot of time for Christian Klein. Doesn't have a huge amount of respect for him, possibly. And I think he was trying to press on a little bit. Who knows? We're looking, though, back from the car of Fernando Alonso. That's Michael Schumacher, 7 times world champion. And he started down in 18th place this afternoon. He has got himself up into 7th. And he really would like very much to get past this Renault of Fernando Alonso, who's carrying quite a lot of fuel at this stage of the Grand Prix. Look how the Ferrari engine allows him to get closer. Then the bite point of those brakes on the Renault means it stops. Schumacher has to react and stop as well. He's adjusting all the time the brake bias in the cockpit of that car. He's working really, really hard, Michael Schumacher, to try and make something of this afternoon. This is lap 26. Montoya is still leading, and we've got a Minardi in the pits. That's Zolt Baumgartner making his 2nd stop of the afternoon. Whoa! Very close exit for Montoya, right up behind Ricardo Zonta, another Brazilian driver in this field, and that just shows you how hard Montoya is charging this afternoon. Zonta
goes a lap down then, and is that a crane moving there, or just a TV camera sweeping past the crane? Whatever it is, but Ralf Schumacher pits then in the Williams from what was 3rd place. And it's going to take some keeping hold of this strategy this afternoon with all of the different tyre change points. For example, Michael Schumacher pitted on lap 5 and took 6 seconds worth of fuel. Alonso pitted on lap 18 and took 9 seconds worth of fuel, but they're running line astern on the racetrack. It's going to unfold completely differently to how it looks at the moment.
Certainly is. Just to give you some sort of measure, what Alonso is doing is what they would have done in a normal dry race. Gone to around about lap 17 or 18, and then either gone for a 2-stop strategy, which would bring them in around the mid-40s, or perhaps a little bit less fuel at the first stop would have taken them through to mid-30s, and then again the mid-50s on a 3-stop strategy. So obviously, having stopped much earlier than that, lap 5 or 6 for most of the runners, their strategies have been changed. We'll try and keep on top of them. Alonso's the one who's doing what we would expect, and which is also, incidentally, the fastest way to do the Grand Prix. So he's looking quite clever at the moment.
Montoya lapping in the mid-12s now through the traffic. Strangely, I'm working at Villeneuve and Coulthard 11th and 12th, lapping in the 14th. Don't know if something happened, if the yellow flag will be to recover, presumably, to recover Mark Webber's Jaguar on Villeneuve and Coulthard. Sato and Barrichello pit then at the end of lap 27.
From 3rd and 4th places, respectively. There's Barrichello, was 4th. Is he going to get ahead of Sato? Well, Sato's just pulling out down the pit lane. Barrichello was behind him, so he will not have got out in front of Takuma Sato. Here, the Ferrari pit box, the first one in sequence here in Brazil, and VAR being about 150 metres further down the pit lane. Montoya then on lap 28, just set the fastest first sector of anybody in the Grand Prix so far. We have, and the second sector as well. We've got a yellow flag out on track. You're not ideally placed to go too quick with the yellow flags out, but Montoya, that's why he was going quick. He's coming into the pits.
So Really the first scheduled stop of the afternoon, then that's not driven by being on the wrong tyres, and Ted is down there as ever.
Williams tell me that he's been having trouble seeing. The inside of his visor, Martin, has missed it up. It's just started to spit again with rain, so they've been trying to get a cloth in there to wipe the inside of his visor, but a decent stop for Montoya.
Yes, and it tends to mist up even more. You're sweating heavily inside the car, and as soon as you stop the airflow coming through, it gets worse and worse. This is the fight I was telling you about. 11th and 12th, Villeneuve and Coulthard. Now back down into the 12s again. I think they just came across some traffic.
Yeah, they're good friends, these two. David Coulthard very happy to see Jacques Villeneuve back in Formula One. They put their motorhomes next to each other at European races. Michael Schumacher pits from 5th place. Kimi Raikkonen is the new race leader because of that stop for Montoya just a moment ago. Kimi Raikkonen leading, the winner of the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa, trying to make it 2 victories in the season to give McLaren something to smile about going into the winter break after such a difficult start to the season. There's Jarno Trulli in the Toyota. He really has made a difference since he came across with the last 3 Grand Prix of the season. Very quick qualifying lap yesterday, and you can tell already that the team are just more up on the balls of their feet. They know they've got a really quick racing driver now, and when Ralf Schumacher joins next season, well, they really are hoping to move forward. There's the race leader then, into the pits on lap 30, Kimi Raikkonen.
Montoya, meanwhile, just left the pits and done the fastest middle sector on his out lap. He's on it. And we saw Montoya looked like his clutch was just about trying to bite as he was leaving his stop. Raikkonen had no such problems as we watched him go away. Montoya then now leads the Grand Prix from Ralf Schumacher. Michael Schumacher's left the pits, showing 5th. I suspect he's a little bit down from that. He is indeed. So Sato's up to 5th then. Barrichello 6th, Massa 7th. Trulli has pitted as well. So Fisichella then up to 8th. Villeneuve 9th, Coulthard 10th.
Lap 32 out of 71 here at Interlagos, Brazil. Montoya leading Raikkonen, Alonso, Ralf Schumacher 4th, Sato 5th, Barrichello 6th, and the 2 Saubers, Massa and Fisichella. What a strong season they have had. Sauber making tremendous progress this year. We're riding on board with Rubens Barrichello, who is some distance now behind Takuma Sato, and if you think that looks like a few spots of rain on the camera lens, you would be right, because it's just started drizzling again here in Sao Paulo. We started this race with that. Look, Sato's made a mistake. He's run wide on the greasy track, and that's a gift, yet another gift for Rubens Barrichello. He is through into 5th place, and well, as I was just about to say, we started this Grand Prix with heavy drizzle. It then dried out very quickly. The track went bone dry, and the Michelin runners looked to have the upper hand. Montoya, Raikkonen, Alonso, Ralf Schumacher, but now it's starting to drizzle again, and the picture will change once more. It's not really affecting the lap times too much at the moment, although actually Juan Montoya on the first sector had a bit of a messy first sector and a bit of a messy second sector. This has not been a good lap for Montoya. He's given away a lot of time here. The rest of them, though, don't seem to have lost too much time.
No, Montoya was on the traction control for about 100 metres out of that slow corner. I think that demonstrates just how tacky it's getting out there, how slippery. It's a 1:15.8. It's 3 seconds slower than he went the lap before, to give you an idea of how slippery it's getting. The track temperature is 25, exactly the same as the ambient temperature, so I don't think it'll burn off very quickly. That's Sato out braking himself into turn 1 and releasing Rubens Barrichello up into 5th place. Barrichello 19 seconds behind Montoya, and that's interesting. He's doing 1:13, so Montoya did have a poor lap. You're absolutely right, James.
Yeah, he did. The others are all lapping in the 1:13s, a second and a half slower than the fastest lap we've seen so far, but quite a few of them are carrying a reasonable amount of fuel at this stage in the Grand Prix. So, yes, there's drizzle, but no, it's not really affecting lap times too much at the moment. You can see that Massa is not even thinking about going for any kind of wet or intermediate tyre on that stop. He goes back out on dry, so clearly they don't feel it's going to last.
Michael Schumacher's quiet, isn't he? He's down in 9th place, lapping early 1:13. It's pretty solid pace, you have to say, but 5.5 seconds he was behind Massa before Massa just stopped. So Michael, quite quiet out there at the moment.
Well, we've lost 3 drivers at the moment in the Grand Prix: Mark Webber, Jenson Button, and Nick Heidfeld. And Nick is talking with Louise Goodman now.
He is indeed, James. Nick, transmission failure, disappointing end to the race, disappointing end to what's not been the best season for you on the whole, has it?
Yeah, definitely. I hope to end this race on a high, if you can say so. Wanted to give the team a good race. We hoped for rain. It did rain in the beginning. Now it's just drizzling. So I always hope for, or you always hope for a very good last race. It's a disappointment for sure.
Let's look forward to next year. There's been talk of you being a Williams. What can you tell us?
I don't know a lot about that really. I mean, I hope that I have a chance there. I nearly had a test there in the summer, and it would be great if they give me a chance.
Thanks, Nick.
I understand Nick may well be on the list. I think he'll probably mostly be hoping that some teams have to run a third car. I think that's looking less and less likely, it seems, as this weekend has unfolded. It's been changing hour by hour. Regulations, teams staying in, teams up for sale, and then amazing weekend. Never seen anything like it.
My head is spinning, I tell you. I was here till 7:30 last night listening to these new cost-saving proposals put together by 9 of the Formula One team principals. They didn't get Jean Todt of Ferrari to sign it, but Todt says he wasn't invited to the meeting where the proposals were drawn up, so quite a bit of confusion there going on. But the idea being that the teams are saying, OK, we'll do an 18th and 19th race in the French Grand Prix and the British Grand Prix, but in return we've got to shorten the race weekends a little bit, just make Friday a test day, and we'll have quali and race on Saturday and Sunday. In return for that, we only want to cut testing back to 10 days during the season. Ferrari own 2 test tracks. They do testing pretty much 9 to 5 days a week, and they really do not want to do that. So a little bit of a standoff there amongst the team principals.
Yes, but what was most interesting for me about that, James, is one of the 9 signatories, of course, was Peter Sauber, who very much is sort of seen as a Ferrari B team and falls into line normally with what Ferrari want. But he is desperate to get these testing reductions and cost savings. So, as I said to Max on the start line, I was really surprised that the teams have been so heads into this. They've had all year to get this together. Why, in the middle of a full-blown Grand Prix, are they rushing around signing pieces of paper? Mistakes will be made. They'll make bad decisions, but at least they're now making some decisions.
It's a bit like the spirit of revolution which swept France in the late 1800s and other countries along the way. Once the momentum starts, it does tend to get going. And what has been remarkable, I think, about this development this weekend is that 9 of the 10 teams have signed it. It really is a very strong statement. It's slightly unfair to paint Ferrari into a corner and say, well, if they don't sign this, there won't be a French and British Grand Prix. So it's up to them to save Silverstone. I don't think that's a really fair way to look at it, because we all know that the man who sets Grand Prix is Bernie Ecclestone, not Ferrari. But nevertheless, into the winter, it certainly will continue to roll on. Here in Sao Paulo, Brazil, we are at half distance in this really very entertaining Grand Prix season finale. Juan Montoya is 5 seconds ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, with Fernando Alonso third, 16 seconds behind the race leader. Into the second half of this Brazilian Grand Prix at Interlagos. James Allen and Martin Brundle with you, Luis Goodman and Ted Kravitz down in the pit lane. You're riding on board with the second place Kimi Raikkonen. He's 5 seconds behind Juan Montoya on his final outing for the BMW Williams team, trying to get just his 4th victory in 4 seasons with the team. A balance sheet which you'd have to say is not all that brilliant, considering the promise that Montoya had, how good a car Williams had on and off over the period, but they really have fallen behind Ferrari in the time that Montoya has been there. Only really last year, when Montoya did have a chance of winning the World Championship. He hasn't won a race this year. He'd love to win the final one in South America here, and well, he's over halfway there. Raikkonen looking racy. Alonso has driven wonderfully here. He took the gamble to start this Grand Prix and heavy drizzle on dry tyres, and it really worked for him. He was 8th on the grid, but he led for most of the opening segment, and he is now in a podium position in 3rd. Ralf Schumacher also played the rain and the tyre changes cannily and got himself up from 7th place to 4th. Rubens Barrichello looking for the home victory. He was quick early on, but stayed out a little bit too long on the intermediate Bridgestone tyres, paid the price, and he is down into 5th place at the moment. Takuma Sato then is 6 seconds behind him, with Michael Schumacher having a very quiet afternoon by his standards. Once again, ending the season on a rather low note as he did last year, but it's been a season all about Schumacher this year.
He's just started to squeeze on it though, James. Got into the 11s now. He's fastest man on the track last time around by 3 or 4 tenths. He's just 12 seconds behind Barrichello now in terms of given he had a spin as well. So Michael's just beginning to, we're not seeing the incredible pace as we did back in China, but just seeing Michael beginning to unleash that Ferrari as the race unfolds. We've got a slightly neutral period to the race now. They all pitted, the key runners pitted somewhere between laps 25 and 29. They're appearing to be able to do about 20 to 22 laps on the amount of fuel they're happy to carry. So we're heading towards some more pit stops in the next few laps. But it's pretty much Linus Montoya, 5 seconds ahead of Raikkonen, lapping at the same speed. Alonso is 13 seconds behind Raikkonen in third place, but we think he's fueled up to only have to stop one more time. And we didn't get all of the pit stops. There were so many pit stops going on that it is difficult to know exactly how much each and every one of them put in their car. We know McLaren are out there again now, ready to receive one of their drivers. First man in last time around was Kimi Raikkonen, but it's Coulthard coming in this time, we think.
Yeah, well, because he made one very late stop, having started the Grand Prix on dry tyres, so he's gone quite a distance then on that fuel load they put in at his first pit stop, and here he is. Probably his final pit stop, final service from the McLaren crew. They've looked after him very well over the years. They've won 12 races together. They love him. Sad to see him go in every sense. Coulthard accelerates down the pit lane for the final segment of his career with McLaren.
Yes, that looked like enough fuel, didn't it, to get him the final 28-29 laps. Montoya's lead down to 4.8 seconds now. Raikkonen nibbling away at that. Alonso still hanging on, still lapping quickly in third. It's shaping up for a great final run in, isn't it, to the checkered flag?
Certainly is. It's been an afternoon when the Michelin tyres and the Bridgestone tyres, there's not been a great deal to choose between them. The Ferrari, the Williams, the McLaren. It's not been a typical Grand Prix in 2004 sense, because 2004 has been so utterly dominated by Ferrari, who come here looking for their 16th win of the season. If they were able to achieve it, it would be a record. McLaren won 15 back in 1988, with the great Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost sharing out the spoils between them. It's been mostly Schumacher with a little bit of Barrichello this year, but the final race of the season is showing a different picture. It's showing a more even picture amongst the front runners. That's got a little bit to do with the fact that Ferrari haven't developed their car since the summer, but it's what we like to see. It's competitive Formula One racing, and we're really enjoying it. Ted Kravitz, what can you tell us?
A bit of frustration down at Williams, James, with Ralf Schumacher. He's trying so hard to get past Fernando Alonso, but just can't get anywhere close. What he's saying, I'm told over the radio, is that Alonso's traction is just so much better, and he just boots it out the last corner. Ralf can't get anywhere near.
Well, we know how good that Renault is away from the start line, and particularly the second phase of the start. That's all about traction too. They seem to have quite a rearwards weight distribution that gives them that good grip, and I think that's why you often see the Renault with a lot of understeer. But what Ralf means is he's taking 20-30 metres out of me on the way out of a corner. Means I can do nothing before the end of the next straight. Alonso then happily going round in third place. Ralf though 1.8 seconds behind him, so just about in his dirty air, but hardly menacing his mirrors.
Certainly not. Riding on board with Montoya. Just look at the way the G-forces affect his head. Look, pushing his head to the opposite direction. He's turning left, the head's being pushed to the right. Big G's being pulled around this circuit. It really does stretch the driver's neck, and it's an unusual track as well in that it runs in an anti-clockwise direction, so there are more left-hand turns than there are right-handers, and generally speaking, most tracks are designed the other way around. They're more rights than left. So this particular stretch here up the hill, left they go, puts a massive strain on the driver's neck. Some of them need to have restraining belts to help to make sure their heads don't pull away too far to the side. And I've had the good fortune to ride in a two-seater Formula One car driven by Fernando Alonso around Donington, and I couldn't believe how much of a strain it put on my neck. We were only doing 5 laps, sort of 5-6 seconds off the pace of a normal Formula One car, but still, it hurt like heck, even after 2 or 3 laps.
It does. We used to wear a block on the side of our helmet to lean against the car, but you're not allowed to do that in case it affects the padding works in the event of a big lateral accident, big sideways into the barrier accident. But Alonso, Ralf Schumacher and Barrichello, 3rd, 4th and 5th, now just 2.7 seconds adrift. Look, you can see them all in your screen. And Louise is down at Jaguar.
Yeah, I am, Martin. A lot of heavy hearts down here, as you can imagine. Their main man, Mark Webber, out of the race. To make matters worse, it was teammate Christian Klein that he tangled with at turn 1. In fact, that's where Mark is still at the moment, sitting on the grass on the outside of the corner, just watching the other cars go by. Maybe he's working out what to say to the guys when he gets back. They, meanwhile, are all sitting slumped in the floor of the garage. This was always going to be a difficult race for Webber and for the Jaguar team, and it couldn't have ended in a worse fashion for Mark.
Yeah, well, I'll avoid making any kind of reference to the donkey, but I wonder if he'd been in the cockpit of the car, whether things might have been a bit different. That was a very unfortunate collision a few laps ago between Mark Webber, and you can see him sitting on the right there, Mark Webber, just his little green overalls on the outside of turn 1, just watching the unfolding action, wishing that he was part of it. One of the best drivers in Formula 1, undoubtedly. Bright future in front of him, was riding on board there with Rubens Barrichello.
Yeah, whose neck has gone. Did you notice? As soon as he turned in, even to turn 4, which is not one of the toughest corners around here, neck straight over to the side of the cockpit. Remember, we were talking about this incredible lap record-breaking, lap after lap pace. It's really taken its toll on the drivers.
Well, Webber sitting there watching this action, and he'll be pleased with what he sees, because this car here, leading the race by almost 5 seconds, is the car that he will be driving in the winter tests starting in November. He'll get behind the wheel of this very car with the BMW engine, start to get some idea of where that car is at as a reference, and then throughout the winter with the 2005 spec car, very, very different, 30% drop in aerodynamic downforce on that car, he will have something to compare it to. A very heavy test program in store for him, and he'll be feeling good about it. Jarno Trulli then, he'll be staying with Toyota next year. He makes his 3rd stop of the afternoon.
We had to report, because it was the case, of just how much slower Villeneuve was than Alonso in the Japanese and Chinese Grand Prix. It is not the case today. He's been matching Alonso's pace all the way through the Grand Prix, and often a tenth or two faster. We hear that the Jaguar team are preparing for the final stop of the afternoon, their final stop for a while. Never say never, that they'll be back in Formula 1. But at the moment, of course, the Jaguar name is going to disappear. The man I was just talking about, Villeneuve, in the pits then for his final stop of the afternoon. And of course, his final stop for Renault as well, I'd imagine. He's off to Sauber next year.
Yeah, he's doing a good job today, Jacques Villeneuve. Came in for a bit of heat for his performances in China and Japan. Japan wasn't really his fault. It was such an extraordinary weekend with such heavy rain on Friday, and then the typhoon threat, which cancelled all the action on Saturday. He really had no time whatsoever to set the car up. So it wasn't really his fault. But here this weekend at Interlagos, he's done a very good job. He's just made a pit stop. Alonso, his teammate, is coming into the pits in the sister Renault. He was 5th. Villeneuve pitted from 8th place.
Those metal strips, you saw him running over there to earth the car out to make sure there are no sparks to set fire to the refueling rig. And they just pop up in the air. Of course, carbon is a good conductor. Montoya leads Raikkonen by 5.1 seconds. They're just trading tenths here and there. Ralf Schumacher's 20 seconds behind his teammate now in 3rd place.
Yeah, Ralf was very impressive as well in Japan 2 weeks ago. Really very, very good indeed, chasing down his brother Michael. And if you look at the lap times for Ralf Schumacher, they were absolutely sensational. Williams then qualifying for the last 2 Grand Prix of the season on the front row of the grid, leading here in Brazil, having finished 2nd with Ralf Schumacher in Japan. You have to say it's been a strong end to the season for the BMW Williams team. I think what happened last year is they were very quick, and I think they underestimated how much of that speed was the Michelin tyre and how much of it was their car. So into the winter, they didn't make as much progress as they should have done or hoped to do. Started the season with not a very good car by their own admission. Sam Michael, the technical director, has admitted it. They made some very bad choices on the aerodynamics and the design. There's Ralf Schumacher pitting from 4th place, but they went away to think about it, and the second half of this year, as Ralf tries to go a little bit early, second half of this year, this car has got better and better, and Ted Kravitz is down in the pits.
That was very unfortunate for Ralf Schumacher. He tried to go too early, the fuel hose was still on, and he's of course in this battle with Fernando Alonso. Let's wait to see if he's managed to get past him, although I think that mistake will scupper it.
Okay, Ted, thanks for that. We didn't quite catch that on the screen. So when is Montoya coming in? Quite clearly now, they can all get by with just one more stop. Ralph's made his third stop of the afternoon, as has David. Well, David Coulthard's only 2 stopping today, but Montoya sets a new lap record. He's getting very close to that pit stop, a 1:11.473. That's 3.4 seconds under the record.
He's also getting very, very close to the limit of this car. Did you see how the front of it just jagged about into turn 1? He's absolutely flying. They call him the monster. He is totally monstering this car, the place where he started to make his name in Formula 1, a dramatic pass on Michael Schumacher in 2001. Here's Rubens Barrichello, started the day from pole, looking for the home victory. He was third before he made that pit stop. Doesn't look as though it's going to happen for Rubens Barrichello this afternoon. He's fueled to the finish. It's really between Montoya and Raikkonen, I think, for who can win this Grand Prix. Both super aggressive racers. And, well, we're heading, I think, for a very exciting conclusion to this final race of the championship. On board with Montoya, up the hill, pulling up to about 185 miles an hour, 190 miles an hour, the pit entrance on our left. We dive down it. Cut the speed, 100 kilometers an hour, down, up over the rise, set the speed limiter. You look at his thumb on the button, making sure he doesn't speed in the pit lane, into the box. Mechanics go to work. Tyres off. Fuel going in behind us. Like clockwork for the Williams team. They desperately want their first win of 2004, and that is a well-oiled Grand Prix outfit.
It is indeed. Well, we've got a South American looking like he's going to win this Grand Prix. It's not the South American that the fans wanted, though, is it? They want Barrichello, and they want Massa doing the job out there, but Montoya is the fastest thing that we've seen so far on an outright lap, and of course the Grand Prix so far. The third Brazilian in the Grand Prix then, Zonta. Michael Schumacher pits from what was 4th place.
So Kimi Raikkonen leading the Grand Prix. Schumacher for the final time this season. The championship wrapped up long ago. 1 or 2 mistakes in the closing stages of this season, which he will certainly go away and think about. You always, as a racing driver, Martin, I imagine, want to end the season as strongly as you possibly can to give yourself a confidence boost going into the winter. Kimi Raikkonen pitted before, 1 lap after Montoya last time round. This time he's going a little bit longer on the fuel, which is going to be interesting. So does he have enough fuel in this car to put in a few quick laps and try and vault Montoya at his own final pit stop, I wonder?
Well, he had 5 seconds to make up, so it'd be a pretty spectacular effort. I could see him making 1 or 2 of those, but let's see how the traffic plays out. We'll watch his out lap. He's on that now. He's done a 1:31, including leaving the pits, including his pit stop as well, actually. So Montoya then out on track. His stop was very clean, and the Minardi of Bruni very slow away.
If Raikkonen can do 2, 3, 4 laps, he might have half a chance, and you can see, oh dear, the, well, not quite so well oiled there for the Minardi team, walking away, because it can be very painful if you get pulled over by one of those fuel hoses, as Ferrari's Nigel Stepney will tell you. He broke his foot in an incident just like that a few years ago.
Well, you see the guys that are the 2 heavy guys they put on there. You and I probably couldn't lift that fuel rig, James, and amazingly heavy. And how often do we see them getting stuck? I think if you don't pull them exactly the right angle, they don't want to come out.
Raikkonen across the line. This has been a quick lap for him. He's trying very, very hard here. That's his fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, a 1:11.5. Montoya is under pressure here. The longer Raikkonen stays out with very low fuel on these tyres, which are obviously working for him. Look at his neck being pulled over to the side. He's resting it on the side of the cockpit. Huge strain on their necks here, but Montoya does a 1:12.7, so that's 1.2 seconds of Montoya's lead that Raikkonen has taken out just on that lap alone. Plus the lap before, of course, Montoya making his pit stop. How much longer can Raikkonen go here? Can he go long enough to take over the lead of the Grand Prix for Montoya when he makes his stop at some point in the next few laps?
2 wheels on the grass while we've been watching this fight for the lead. Ralf Schumacher has got ahead of Fernando Alonso, only by a 1/10 of a second last time they crossed the line. But Schumacher with the faster car. Now he's repassed him. Ralph's had a slow lap, so we're not watching any of that, unfortunately. I can see it on the computer here. Alonso back up to P5. How long will it be before Kimi Raikkonen has to pit? Clean pits, Louise, is there.
Yeah, the last pit stop of the Brazilian Grand Prix for Christian Klein, the last ever pit stop for the Jaguar team. They're not going to have much to celebrate, no points, but the boys have stood out in front of the garage. They're waving him off. Nice touch, guys.
Very nice touch indeed. An act of good humour from one of the best humoured teams of mechanics in Formula One. They really are super guys. There'll be a little tear in one or two eyes there. There's David McMillan, known as Nessie there, one of the truckies, one of the best spirited. Even though he's an Everton fan, I really like him. And he just waves there. And it's goodbye from Jaguar.
Let's just hope in the next 7 days somebody buys that team. It's not out of the question. Let's just hope somehow they can get it done. Time frame, they're all painted in the corner so heavily though on the time frame and engine supply. But let's hope they find a way this week.
Lap 54, Raikkonen continuing his relentless progress. While we were having a sentimental moment with the Jaguar team, Raikkonen is still pushing very, very hard indeed. He's got 18.8 seconds advantage over Juan Montoya. His last lap was competitive. Montoya's, again, was over a second slower.
And now is this, yeah, Ralph outbreak. This is how Alonso got back past Ralph Schumacher. Schumacher took it on the pit stops, then outbraked himself into turn one. Alonso nipping nicely around the inside.
There goes Kimi Raikkonen. How much longer is he going to stay out? He's certainly trying very hard. That last lap he's just gone through, about 0.6 slower than the one before for him, but nevertheless keeping the pressure up on Juan Montoya. He's taken it out to over 19 seconds now, the margin.
Yeah, so what's he done? He had a 5-second deficit, didn't he? He must have got 3 of those already as Sato pits out of 3rd place in the BAR Honda. Raikkonen doing everything he can. Is it enough? It's going to be all... Of course, he'll need a slightly less fuel than Montoya. He's gone further. He needs less fuel to get to the end. They'll have less time with the nozzle on. But we're talking tenths as Sato rejoins.
He's going to need about 20-21 seconds. He's very, very close here, Kimi Raikkonen. Montoya needs to up the pace a little bit. He took half a second out of him on that last lap.
McLaren out, James. I'm looking out of the window. McLaren out. We know Coulthard stopped. Raikkonen takes the tight line into the pits, and that is scary. It made me draw breath when Montoya went through there flat out with the end of the pit wall steering out. I thought Montoya attacked that line harder than that, Ted.
McLaren need a brilliant pit stop, and I'm not sure that it's going to be enough. The tyres are on, the fuel hose is on, no problem. It comes up. That's a very quick pit stop.
So it could decide the outcome of this Grand Prix as Raikkonen gets back up to speed. The question is, where is Juan Montoya? We're looking at a different battle. The race director has not understood what's going on here. Juan Montoya is out on track somewhere. Kimi Raikkonen has rejoined. And, well, if he's not ahead of Juan Montoya, the two will be very, very close together on the racetrack. That's for absolutely sure. And they'll be duking it out for the last 16 laps. We're being told that Montoya is ahead. We haven't seen it yet on the TV pictures. We're being told that, though.
Yeah, Montoya cut the end of the first sector timing beam before Raikkonen did. So I'd be pretty confident, actually, by about a couple of seconds. Raikkonen couldn't quite make the difference. We're on board with Michael Schumacher chasing down his brother, who's also very close behind Sato. This is what we were expecting as we move towards the final laps of the Grand Prix. Michael just steadily building pace all the way through.
So there you go. That is the confirmation that the race is now led by Juan Montoya. Raikkonen stayed out to try and get the lead. It wasn't quite enough, but you can see he cut that 5-second margin down considerably by that McLaren strategy that nearly did it for him, but he perhaps needed another lap, possibly 2, to make it stick. And, well, he's now just 1.4 seconds behind the race leader, Juan Montoya. 3rd is Barrichello, 4th Alonso. He is at the head of a really exciting train. Alonso, Sato, Ralf Schumacher and Michael Schumacher. 4 drivers separated by just over a second. We've got 15 laps of excitement to go here in Sao Paulo. Lap 59 of the 71-lap Brazilian Grand Prix, the final Grand Prix of the 2004 Formula One World Championship. James Allen, Martin Brundle with you. We're riding on board with Michael Schumacher. He's in 7th place. He's the 4th car in a 4-car train, a battle for 4th place between Alonso, Sato, Ralf Schumacher and Michael Schumacher. And here at the front, we've got a fabulous scrap now between Juan Montoya and Kimi Raikkonen. Raikkonen, in the last 2 laps, has taken a second out of the lead of Juan Montoya, and we're going to have a grandstand finish here in Sao Paulo, because these two are amongst the feistiest and most aggressive racers in Formula One. They'll be teammates next year in the McLaren Mercedes squad, and neither of them wants to go into the winter having had to give second best to the other. It's a great psychological scrap, this.
It is indeed. I've been looking at the straight line speeds at various parts of the racetrack. The Williams is a fraction faster, a kilometre or 2 per hour. But if Raikkonen can get that McLaren into the slipstream in this corner, you'll cow at the foot of the long climb up the hill. He's got the faster car, no doubt about it, at this stage of the Grand Prix. He can have a look up the inside, but he's got to get close enough. And that is what's so hard. You can get through Mergullo, the long left bumpy corner before the final turn in somebody else's slipstream. There's enough grip. That final one is so tricky, but Raikkonen, the gap's gone up to 0.7 now. He lost a little bit of time. He is in that turbulent air. Barrichello seems to have third place sorted out. He's 20 seconds behind these two. Alonso has had poor pace in the second half of the Grand Prix, and that is why he's fourth and under pressure from Sato, Ralf Schumacher and Michael Schumacher, fourth, fifth and sixth and seventh.
Well, the balance sheet for these two, no win this season so far for Juan Montoya. One victory for this man here, Kimi Raikkonen, the Belgian Grand Prix at the end of August. Can he make it two, or is Montoya going to get his first victory and only his fourth in his Williams career? This is going to be a very exciting conclusion to this Grand Prix. Ted Kravitz has a little news for us on the Ferrari team.
Very long faces at Ferrari, James. Rubens Barrichello, the pole sitter, made up 2 places at the last pit stop, but since then he just hasn't been fast enough. In fact, over the course of the race has not been fast enough to make the difference. So big disappointment with Rubinho down here at Ferrari.
Well, his pace is solid and it's quicker than Michael's pace, so I really, they just haven't got. Remember, Pierre Dupasquet from Michelin said to us yesterday, as far as he's concerned, his tyres were better around here in dry conditions. As you said earlier in the programme, James, it certainly seems to be the case, doesn't it? So we've got Michelin first, second, Barrichello third for Bridgestone, but he has lost that 20 seconds through sheer pace alone.
You were just looking there at one of the Toyotas putting a lap on the Minardi. That was not for position, that was a one-lap move. We've got just 9 laps to go then here in Brazil, and Juan Montoya has been pushing so very hard all afternoon. We've seen the car at attitudes. He has got tremendous car control, this young man. He's coming up to lap Christian Klien. That means he's lapped everyone up to 15th. Klien is in 14th place at the moment. Final race for Jaguar. Just look at the body language of these cars. Raikkonen leading his head over to the right-hand side through that long corner, letting the air get into the airbox above his head for maximum horsepower. Around about 950 brake horsepower nowadays from these Formula One engines.
That's 3 consecutive laps that Montoya has been a tenth or two faster. The gap now back up to 1.1. Raikkonen's early charge is fading. Has he got anything left? Can he dig a little bit deeper? Traffic coming up, the leader always seems to lose a little bit more than the pursuer in these circumstances. The blue flags nowadays certainly eases their path, though.
Well, it's been a long season here, the longest in Formula One history. Michael Schumacher won the first 5 Grand Prix of the season, and he crashed in the tunnel at Monte Carlo dramatically, and Jarno Trulli won the race for the Renault team. Then Schumacher went into a 7-race winning sequence, which took him to the World Championship, clinched at Spa, as I said before, on round 14 of 18. The main opposition this year has come largely from British American Racing, BAR, Jenson Button, 10 podiums, Takuma Sato, 1 podium. But on their day, McLaren have been there, the win in Belgium. We're riding on board here with Michael Schumacher, and the Williams team here this afternoon certainly stepped up the last 2 Grand Prix as well. But Ferrari have had the dominant package of the season. What will happen over the winter? Will Michael Schumacher find himself back here in 8th place a bit more often in 2005, or will they manage to keep their neck ahead of the opposition? What about Renault? Will they be able to find something over the winter? Fernando Alonso has been very strong too in this final Grand Prix, often a few indicators of how teams might start the following season. It's not been a vintage year for Formula One, but we're getting a vintage conclusion to it.
Absolutely. Looks like Ralph's made a bit of a mistake. Michael right up behind him now. And we know Michael took wing off for the race. Is he going to be anywhere near an out-braking manoeuvre down into turn 1? Let's hope we follow this, because surely he's shaping up nicely, just a fraction too far behind, but he's still got a chance to duck out of the slipstream. We're watching the wrong bit, my friend. Where was the two Schumachers? They must have been so close as they went into the braking zone of turn 1. You have to say, since Michael binned his, he's behind still, but since Michael binned his race car, he's never quite looked on top of this T car around here. Of course, he's had so little time to set it up. Straight into qualifying 1, and then Parc Fermé. He had to race it exactly as it was.
That's his brother, he's racing, and his brother is not about to let him through. 6th and 7th places, the two Schumacher brothers. Michael now the oldest man in Formula 1. He turns 36 on the 3rd of January next year. And how much longer will he continue in Formula 1? Certainly crashes like the one he had on Saturday morning will make him think, but he's such a racer. He so enjoys what he does, and his team are really on top of their game at the moment. Why should he stop racing Formula 1 cars? It's what he loves, it's what he's done for such a very long time. And there's nothing he likes more than getting himself into a good scrap, particularly with his brother, and that's what he's got right now, with just 7 laps in which to try and pass him before the checkered flag.
Yes, he's a lot further behind this time. They're all lapping 1:13.0, 1:13.4. In fact, the two Schumis are slowing themselves down a bit, and that's what I was talking about. Michael never quite hooked up in this car, and making all sorts of adjustments inside the cockpit. Brake balance, look, being adjusted now as he heads down to turn 4. They're beginning to slip back from Alonso and Sato. Sato looking like he'll have a real charge at Fernando Alonso before the end of this Grand Prix.
Just to explain what happened, Michael Schumacher had that crash yesterday morning at this very turn here, turn 6, and had to jump into the spare car with the spare engine as well. So he didn't have very much time to set up the chassis that he's driving at the moment. Ferrari pretty good at putting one chassis settings onto another, but clearly he's not really enjoying the car this afternoon. Now leading the Grand Prix by just over a second is Juan Montoya. He's managing to stay a 10th or so every lap ahead of Kimi Räikkönen, and his wife, Connie Montoya, is talking now with Louise Goodman in the pits. She must be pretty nervous, I would think.
I think she is, James. We're actually stood outside the McLaren office. Connie is peering through the window of McLaren at the television screens, keeping a very close eye on her man. Connie, nervous moments for you?
They're I'm very nervous. It's amazing. I'm just trying to compare the times, and
he's doing well.
Very well. He never thought it was going to be such a good race for him, so fingers crossed. 6 laps to go.
We'll keep our fingers firmly crossed. Thanks, Connie.
Another person watching this with his fingers crossed going to be Sir Frank Williams, sitting at home, not coming out to this Grand Prix. And Frank will be mighty pleased with what he's looking at the moment. Montoya still with a 1-second lead.
Yes, he certainly will. Great to have you with us, Sir Frank. Hope you're enjoying your afternoon, along with everybody else. Sunita's wedding coming up in Coronation Street just after this Grand Prix. I know, a very big day on the street, but we're having a very big day here on the racetrack at Interlagos. Just 5 to go, and Kimi Räikkönen is less than a second behind Juan Montoya. Meanwhile, in a tremendous scrap for 4th place between Alonso, Sato, Ralf Schumacher and Michael Schumacher, only 1.5 seconds separating the 4 cars, and Michael Schumacher having nibbles at his brother but can't do anything about him. Is Sato, one of the best passers in the business, going to be able to find a way past Alonso for 4th place? It's all set for a fantastic conclusion here as they come through to complete another lap. We're riding on board with Ralf Schumacher. And, well, there's a DVD coming out this Christmas of 50 years of onboard cameras. Certainly Bernie Ecclestone's organisation pioneering the technology. Some wonderful stuff there from Fangio through to the present day. And some of the best parts of Grand Prix racing are this onboard footage. We're now riding on board with Michael Schumacher. That's his brother ahead, probably about 6 or 7 car lengths. But he just doesn't seem to be out close enough to him under braking, does he, Martin?
No, he's not got the car underneath him to really have. He's not got the grip and confidence. And then as soon as he gets in the turbulent air, that's been worked so hard as it passes over and under the surfaces of that BMW Williams, and that's what happens. Michael just gets a little snake, has to stay off the throttle a fraction longer, and because the acceleration of these cars is so incredible, mind-blowing, that even a 0.5 waiting for the car to settle down, you watch the car in front of you like a concertina just disappear.
Sato looks a bit closer to the back of Alonso than he has for some time through the Young Cow corner. You can see picking up the speed. That's the BAR Honda, the sole remaining BAR Honda in this Grand Prix, because teammate Jenson Button was the first man to retire from the race with an electrical problem. We saw smoke pouring out of his engine. Sato having a bit of a look there. He left it very, very late into turn one. He didn't make it stick, but he got very close to Fernando Alonso.
Alonso's doing a sterling job. He hasn't got the fastest car, I don't think, of those four. But somehow, well, he hasn't on that lap. He's losing tenths every lap, but still maintaining position. And look, this is for the lead then. It's down to 0.8 last time around. What is it over the line this time? It is 0.6. So Raikkonen did have a little something else, just snatching the left front on the way into turn one. No problem at all. It's the unloaded wheel and really not doing too much work at that stage, which is why it locked. And they're beginning now to catch Villeneuve, who's 10th. He's about to be lapped.
Well, Ron Dennis, the boss of the McLaren team for whom Kimi Raikkonen drives, saying that he's already started talking to Montoya about next season, about what he likes, about how to get the best out of him, human conditioning, human performance, all of those things. But for sure, one of the best ways of getting something out of a racing driver is by having an extremely fast and aggressive teammate. Raikkonen will be that man next year, and these two are undoubtedly going to be driving each other on to greater and greater heights. And that will of course push McLaren closer and closer to Ferrari, but Raikkonen makes a mistake there.
Way too high in Bica de Pato, the corner that is so tricky, it's so dirty on the outside. You have to drive across the grass on the inside almost to give yourself a chance of keeping the nose where you want it. And look how that has affected the gap.
Into the very closing stages then of this Grand Prix. Just 2 laps of this track, just over 5 miles then, in which Kimi Raikkonen can try and take the victory in the final Grand Prix of 2004, but Montoya looks to have it all covered at the moment.
Yeah, Raikkonen made another mistake. I think he's getting tired, made another mistake turning in at one there, just went in a little bit too deep. He's pushed it so hard. And Montoya has had, look at him, also leaning over through the corners. The neck gone. They've really put so much energy into those cars today.
The pace has been absolutely extraordinary. We're in the closing stages here of 71 laps, and they're lapping in the high 1-minute 11s, well and truly inside the lap record pace of previous years. They're going so incredibly fast, and it takes it out very much on the drivers. Montoya just resting his head, just trying to get through this final 4 or 5 miles, but his performance, his strength, and his desire to win here this afternoon has been the telling factor. Raikkonen and McLaren tried something different on the strategy. They left him out a little bit longer to try and do something after for the final pit stop, but it didn't quite work out, and Montoya has reacted superbly well. Ted, what can you tell us?
Big tension down here at McLaren. They're loving this, seeing both their drivers who are going to be working for them next year, fighting tooth and nail. And while you're down here, you've got to say, James, big credit to all these mechanics in this pit lane. It's been such a long season, they've worked so hard.
Thank you for that, Ted. Now, Montoya looks like he's going to avenge the race he lost when he tripped over the back of Jos Verstappen here. And back in 2001, it looks like it's going to come right for him this time. Raikkonen, of course, does not have an answer from that far back. 1.3 seconds adrift. Alonso, Ralf Schumacher has passed Sato. Ralf Schumacher's passed the BAR in the last lap. Michael Schumacher remains 7.
So Montoya, just a few corners to go then to get his first victory of the 2004 championship. It's all foot to the floor and just drive for the line. He's got a back marker in his way as he comes out of the Junkau corner. He will negotiate him safely. It's the Minardi of Zsolt Baumgartner. He dives down the inside of him, and Juan Montoya is already punching the air. The Colombian contingent love this because Montoya wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. What a dramatic race. Just ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, the winning margin exactly 1 second after almost 200 miles of racing. Juan Montoya wins. Barrichello is going to be in 3rd place, a distant 3rd, and you can see the joy for Montoya on the radio to his team. His last Grand Prix for the BMW Williams squad. What better way to finish off a 4-year relationship than with a win, and especially an unexpected one like this. But qualified front row of the grid, and he's translated that into a victory. Here comes the battle, though, for 4th place. The top 4, the big 4, Alonso, Ralf Schumacher, Sato, and Michael Schumacher. They're going to cross the line with Ralf Schumacher ahead of Sato. As you can see, the pass made just a lap ago. And they take the final points positions, with Michael Schumacher 7th, Massa in 8th place. But the winner here in Sao Paulo, a very, very happy Juan Montoya. Welcome back to Sao Paulo, Brazil, where Mrs. Montoya congratulates her husband, Juan Pablo, on a mesmerising drive here. And Mrs. Barrichello does the same thing for her husband, Rubens. It's not a victory for Barrichello, it's not the home victory he hoped for. It is 3rd place, yet another podium for Rubens Barrichello in what's been a pretty exciting season for him. His 14th podium in 18 Grand Prix. And the mechanics and everybody else rushing down to see the podium celebrations. Remember last year, this race finished in complete confusion. In a rainstorm, no one knew who had won. But here today, Martin, there was really only one winner. Juan Pablo was fantastic on the day, wasn't he?
Yes, he had an answer for every condition and every other team and driver combination. Make any mistakes, comfortably really the driver of the day, no doubt about it. If you want to keep in touch with Formula One over the winter, look at f1itv.com. Always lots of information. It's going to be a busy winter for Formula One. You can buy a specialist magazine out every week and every month, give you quite a lot of detail, some of which we can't get over on the TV. That'll fill in any missing spaces that's happened during this Grand Prix, of course. My thanks to all of our teammates at F1 ITV. Really enjoyed working with each and every one of you. Good to work with you this year, James. Thanks to Mark Hughes, who's been up here in the commentary box with us, giving us also Mark Hughes of Autosport, giving us all sorts of useful information.
Yep, and Kevin Chapman also working with us on the commentary. It's been a pleasure. It's not been a vintage season of Formula One, but we have had a terrifically exciting race with which to finish the season, and hopefully this is a taste of what we might expect next season. We'll now hear the Colombian national anthem. The two faces tell it all. Juan Pablo Montoya delighted to have come out on top in front of his teammate for next year, Kimi Raikkonen. He loves that. Raikkonen's face tells a different story. He really gave it a run. He tried hard, but he just didn't have enough on the time. Rubens really struggling, I think. There's Dickie Stanford, team manager, has been with Williams' team for a very, very long time. One of the best guys in the paddock, real hard worker. Rubens Barrichello struggling a little bit. He's been bending over, catching his breath. Kimi Raikkonen then. Second, he will say, always is first of the losers.
3 different cars on the podium again. It's certainly tightened up this end of the season, hasn't it, James? Amazing, as you say, once Michael got that championship. Bittersweet for Rubens, I think. 3rd place. He's not that super happy about it, is he? But he was 26 seconds ahead of teammate Michael Schumacher. Not too shabby.
Certainly wasn't a quiet afternoon for Ferrari after a dominant season. Formula One needed a strong finish, and we got it to the Samba beat here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. 4 different makes of car in the top 4. He's had a taste of the future. Montoya, the winner. Formula One, the winner on the day. We'll see you in Melbourne next March.
James, Martin, thank you very much indeed. It is thank you and good night from Juan Pablo Montoya to Williams. Kimi Raikkonen pushing him all the way. A brilliant Grand Prix. His home race, a real pain in the neck again for Rubens Barrichello. A reminder, Coronation Street is coming next. Mad Maya is on the prowl once again. We will be right back to complete our coverage of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Here's your confirmation of the result of the Brazilian Grand Prix. The winner, the Colombian Montoya. Raikkonen, the Finn, off on a delayed honeymoon after this race, comes second. Barrichello, hometown boy, just cannot win here. Alonso 4th, had a good first half of the race. Ralf Schumacher last race in the Williams 5th. Sato pushed down to 6th place. Michael Schumacher 7th. And another Brazilian, Massa, scores a point for Sauber. Final standings. Schumacher 148, Barrichello 114, Button 3rd, great stuff, 85, Alonso 59, just a point ahead of Montoya, today's winner. Trulli 6th, Raikkonen 7th, and Sato 34 points in 8th place. The Constructors' Championship, final standings, world champions Ferrari, BAR in 2nd place, great effort that, Renault 3rd, Williams 4th above McLaren, Sauber finished 6th, Jaguar 7th, miserable time for them today, then Toyota, Jordan and Minardi. Mark, it was drizzling here, it's drizzling now as well at the start of the race, and it was an excellent start, wasn't it? We wondered though about the hometown boy, about Barrichello, didn't get the best of starts.
Yeah, Rubens actually got cleanly off the line and led into turn 1, but there was a lot of action just behind him. Montoya was the guy who actually lost out, but made up again as he went round turn 1. A little bit tricky in those conditions. A lot of the guys just having to just feel their way through the first few turns. But this is the move here. Raikkonen underneath Barrichello, just out drives him down that long straight there, and the guy then went on to pull out a 3 or 4 second lead.
Was he a bit cautious there, Rubens, do you think?
I think Rubens may be a little bit cautious, but of course he was on the Bridgestone tyre, not quite the level of grip that he expected.
He got his own back though quite quickly, didn't he?
He did indeed, yeah. Wouldn't take him too long to actually get some heat into those Bridgestones then. Get on the back of Raikkonen here, just see him out-drags him down the front straight, underneath him into turn 1, textbook move, not a big problem for him at all.
It was a really tough race physically for them all, wasn't it? A lot of them even on the podium there feeling those necks.
Yeah, this circuit here is very tough. Tough as well because you've got the bumps, and that takes a lot of energy out as you're driving around lap after lap.
I guess when you hear or you smell smoke on the grid, as Jenson Button did, the engine obviously on fire, you don't expect too much from the race. He couldn't deliver much, could he?
I think Jenson probably knew very early on that he was in trouble. You're quite right. When you get that kind of smell in the cockpit, and then when you feel the engine just letting go in a way that smoke then pouring out the back of it, it's good night piano, his day's over. But I think this guy in particular very disappointed to finish the season off in this way.
But a belting season for Jenson Button.
Oh, he's had a fantastic season. I mean, he's contributed most of the points that BAR have managed to get with that second in the Constructors, and I think there's a lot more to come from him.
Look away now if you're a Jaguar supporter. It's almost painful to see this, isn't it? Farewell to Formula One, and both cars crash.
Yeah, I mean, great disappointment. This really was a situation where Mark Webber just trying to creep for under his teammate Christian Klein coming into turn 1. I think Mark's just been a little bit too enthusiastic. He's caught the nose of his car, it's gone underneath his front wheels, and he's driven off the race circuit. Christian ended to come in, had a pit stop to get a new nose. I think he's been sat out there the whole race and didn't want to come back. He knows he's got to face all those guys. A lot of effort, a lot of sorrow.
It was a tremendous race, wasn't it? Right to the end, just a second in between Montoya and Raikkonen. And your pre-race tip, Kimi Raikkonen, he gave it a real charge.
He did give it a real good charge. And also, we said that Monster Montoya would be in there as well. And these were the two guys who have set the day up. Just phenomenal stuff at the end there. Kimi was really pushing as hard as possible. But, you know, at the end of the day, Montoya just had the car underneath him to get the job done. But this is the battle of psychology. These two guys are stitched together at McLaren next year. And at this point in time, they go into the winter. Montoya's one up.
Absolutely. Montoya is one up. We can hear from him now in the press conference.
Pablo, a brilliant race. 16 laps to go, 1.6 seconds in front of Kimi. Take us through those closing stages.
Well, I think it's unbelievable, to be honest. It was a really hard race. You know, they told me Kimi was going a bit longer, so right before the stop I managed to get a couple of laps that I think gave me enough gap to stay ahead of Kimi. Came out of the pits and I made one mistake and Kimi got right behind me and I thought, oh, just don't do anything stupid. Just keep it in the road, and I did towards the, in the end. Managed to get a very good laps at the end and open a little bit of gap on Kimi, and it's fantastic. You know, it's been 4 years with Williams. We had up, down, and everything, and I think to close these 4 years with a win is unbelievable. You know, I really want to thank Frank. I thank all the team except Frank, and thanks, Frank.
He is replacing David Coulthard at McLaren, last F1 race as things stand for DC. Here he is with Louise.
You're too disappointed at that, considering McLaren.
Yeah, 150 Grand Prix is a long time with one team, but you know, not the best of weekends to go out on. We really struggled in the race. I took a knock at the first corner, and thereafter I always felt like I was crabbing, so I could just have no confidence to push. And then just when it dries, it starts to rain a little bit again. So yeah, not very good, but yeah, big thank you to everyone at West McLaren Mercedes team for their support over the years, and let's see what the future holds.
Yeah. See what the future holds. We're all hoping it's not the final curtain for David Coulthard.
We all hope he'll be back for next season, and we can only hope that he's going to be sitting in the Williams on that 1 year that they've got before they take Button.
He's going to be the big daddy next season. Just finally, Michael Schumacher. He's going to be 36 years of age. Is it going to be the last season of Michael at the top, or can anybody catch him?
No, don't underestimate that guy. Don't count him out. You go off in the winter and he'll come back even stronger. He always does.
Do you really feel that now, that he's going to have that motivation even at that advanced age for an F1 driver anyway?
Well, 36 is not that too old, Jim, but I think 7 times he's done it already, and I wouldn't be surprised at an 8th there.
And I think today we've seen the quickest Grand Prix for a while, haven't we?
Very quick indeed. It's an incredible race pace, and the effort and the energy these guys are getting out the cars, walking down here, they've finished totally.
Mark, thanks for your help throughout the season. A reminder, there's more from us in our highlight show tonight. ITV1 at midnight. The show repeated. That is on ITV2 tomorrow evening at 6:30. So it's Montoya's day. We are going to leave you with a rapid musical reminder, really, of what has made all our hearts beat faster since those red lights went out at Melbourne back in early March. On behalf of the whole ITV F1 team here in Brazil, thanks for watching. Good night.
The 2004 World Championship begins now! It's 3 in a row then for Schumacher. Michael Schumacher is out of the Monaco Grand Prix. What a tremendous drive by Michael Schumacher. Michael Schumacher gets his 7th Formula One World Championship.